Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's
Turtle time. My name is Riley Hamilton.
And my name is Amy Scarlatta.
And this is Turtle Time.
Is it?
I don't know. I have to be honest with Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. We have to think of a new intro, but I get so scared every time the episode starts and I completely don't know what to do. What do people say at the start of episodes besides sing each other's names?
We should just start talking and start recording at whenever and then be like, have we started? You know how people do that?
Yeah, Mark Maron does that. This podcast I love does it. I don't want to say their names, but I love this podcast. But I feel like
Joe Rogan
does this. I don't know. It would be so fabricated in our instance because we know exactly when we're recording. It would only be if we had an engineer that would be like, whoa, Amy and Riley, I caught them off the cuff. I started recording and they're already riffing so hard. And I just happened to get a glimpse at it or whatever. And then you and I are like, whoa, let's start the episode. That was just so good.
Yeah.
But you and I can't do that because I'm in control of when we start.
Right. So we know what's going on, but we'll figure it out. We've been putting off, moving on from the sing-song thing for a while now.
Yeah. And it's so easy to go back to get into that and just sing your name. But I think, we'll figure out something great.
Yeah. Have you, this is off the cuff, been watching the Olympics?
Oh, thank you for asking. Thank you for asking me that.
Because I can't wait for you to leave and for me to put the Olympics on.
Really?
Like, I've been watching it every night.
Are you being serious?
I love it.
Really? Oh my God, tell me about it. Tell me about you having Olympic fever. What's it like?
It's just fun.
Is it anytime you turn it on, something good is happening?
There's stuff on all the time, but NBC wrangles up some of the hot sports and puts them on. It's called like Olympics prime time. It's on at like 8 p.m.
Is not on Peacock. This is on.
They do have it on Peacock, but I find the Peacock interface confusing. So I've just been watching it at 8 p.m. on NBC, and it'll just say like swimming, gymnastics, whatever. And
do you want me to leave?
Get out.
8 o'clock that's.
Yeah, but I'll be able to like fast forward and shit in like 2 hours. And
so 8 p.m. NBC has all of the coverage of what you missed today in a big, nice
and it mostly
package.
gets spoiled because they're competing at like 9 a.m. our time. So usually I already know who's like gotten medals and shit, which I kind of already know for today. Like Simone Biles like slayed, obviously, but I can't wait to watch.
I didn't know you had Olympic fever. Is this the first time having it, or do you always have that?
No, I think it's fun.
I
know people have problems with the Olympics, but
who does?
It's not a great institution. The cities that they visit, etc.
What do the Olympics do to the cities they visit?
They like destroy them. They like boot people out to make space for what's coming in. Like people that live there.
Are you saying it's
and they spend all their money to appease the Olympic Association instead of spending it on their infrastructure?
Why? Okay.
Because it's like a shiny, fun thing.
So it's like a Goonies scenario where the developers come into town and they say, we're going to level your home. So kids, you better not go on an adventure because we're going to level your home. And then, so it's just like that. They displace people, you said. Mm-hmm. But then what's the draw for Los Angeles or Paris to have the Olympics there? Because everybody knows Paris. It doesn't need any PR.
Sure. Well, it's like, I think they consider it an honor. It's obviously a huge like tourism bump because your city's like sold out like for like that whole month or whatever.
Okay.
You're getting, I think you would say they don't need PR, but like they do. Like they like run ads for the cities.
Paris?
The Visitors Association or whatever.
Okay, so the Olympics is bad because when it comes to town, it leaves a city for dust.
Yeah.
And then moves about its business.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of, I mean, look into it yourself, but there's like abandoned like athletic facilities that they just like build and then like
We
leave
have
them
one, don't
there.
we?
Like
From 84 is the Coliseum.
but that was like legit. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
Lakers played there.
Aren't
and
we
stuff.
getting one though? Are the Olympics? Are we in the running, or are we next?
Yeah, we're next.
We are 2028. So that organization that wreaks
There was
havoc
a whole like people have been protesting it for a long time.
right now for 4 years from now. Wow. So
They're like making all the athletes stay at like UCLA campuses and like booting out the students.
Dorms?
Yeah.
So if you were at UCLA now and you had a nice dorm room, there might be some Olympian athlete that could be
Staying
staying
on
in
a
your room.
cardboard bed.
Do you want to do like I am going to do and compete next Olympics?
What's your event?
I was thinking whatever you and me.
Pommel horse.
I honestly, 4 years, if you do the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour
Yeah.
rule, you and I could potentially get good at any Olympic sport and be ready to compete in our own hometown and be
That's
hometown
true.
heroes.
That'd be fun.
But then would there be some blowback for participating in a what is it called? Event that ruins a city?
Some people would. There would be corners of Twitter that would be calling us shitheads.
Damn, I've only seen Olympic fever on my Twitter and Instagram. Everywhere
Yeah.
I look, I see people very happy about the Olympics, and I
Yeah.
haven't seen the dark side of the Olympics.
Yeah. I feel like currently right now it's a lot of celebration and I'm relinquishing any greater critical thinking and just being USA brained right now.
Good.
I think it's fun.
So you're supporting our
Red, white, and blue
national-
athletes.
That's fun. I don't know. I think I don't watch sports in general. So then watching a thing that's like all sports.
Yeah.
But I have time. I'm gonna start watching it now.
It's fun.
Is it almost over?
I think there's like at least a whole another week left.
Okay.
I think
All right.
it's 2 weeks.
Oh, I watched a little bit of the skateboarding.
Oh, that's cool. The chick in the girl category, the gold medal, I don't know what each event is, but a 14-year-old one.
A
I think she was
14-year-old
Japanese.
skateboarder?
Yeah.
I saw people getting really excited about the gun
Oh, yeah.
exhibit. Is it
USA
just-
didn't even chart on that. I thought that was our whole thing.
Is it firing a air pistol?
I don't know. I didn't
Okay.
watch that one. I'm mostly in it for the swimming and the gymnastics.
All right, well, good. I will definitely watch the Olympics. I think I just feel left out.
Yeah.
I watched the opening ceremony because we were Megan and I went on a trip, and then she was telling me, getting bursts of like what happened
Yeah.
for the opening ceremony and that medal Gojira performance. We
That
watched
was
that
tight.
with Marie Antoinette's head hanging off her body and then fire erupting in that thing.
I thought
was
that
like,
part
this
was
is
cool.
Yeah, I was like, this is.
I was
cool.
like, America would never have like a metal band play.
No, no, we would never. And also, we would never show off like a dead figure from our history.
Yeah, or a menage a trois.
There was a menage a trois present.
Yeah. There was like a throuple meeting in a library, and then they
Oh.
went home, and then it was implied that they were going to have sex, and then they closed the door in the camera's face.
That was a couple about to have sex. I only saw the first part when it was just in the library, and I
That
just thought
led
they
to
were
the
being
bedroom.
fun and silly in the library. I don't think I kept watching
It was
past
in
that
honor of the menage a trois.
because that's a French thing that
Classic French.
I saw the people that were going back and forth on the balance beams.
Okay.
Did you see that?
It was raining cats and dogs.
Yes, it was so. Well, we don't have to keep talking about it, but the feed I saw, that it was so the camera
Yeah.
was so wet, splattered when they
Yeah.
did that beautiful horse that was riding through the
Satan's horse that
Yeah.
people think it's like the horse of the apocalypse or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, good. I'm gonna get into that. I want
Yeah,
to.
text me anytime. I'll send
Really,
you
if I have a
clips.
question about it, okay. I will.
I'm an expert.
Do you think 4 years is enough time if you and I were to try to get really good at one of the sports we could compete in? I could, well, I don't want to brag, but I think there's probably one sport, if we look down the list
Yeah.
of 1,000 sports, that you and I
You're good at ping pong. They have that.
I was thinking about that, but then I had an image of me saying that, and then I thought about how good I've seen
Yeah.
ping pong players.
They're on
and
another level.
I know I couldn't compete. It would have to
Yeah.
be something else that I would start fresh from and get to the Olympic.
Maybe if there's a category where I can do pull-ups with 2 thick bands and I only have to do like 5, I could do it.
What is are you good at pull-ups, you said?
Horrible.
But
It's the toughest thing.
So you're saying if choose the worst thing.
Olympic category assisted pull-ups with a band that basically holds up your entire body anyways.
But are you saying that you could compete in that?
If we practice.
I'm ready. I mean, I think it's fortuitous as well as divine. What's the
Ooh la la.
It's very fortuitous as well as divine intervention. Speaking of a greater willpower of the universe, that we just happen to want to compete in the Olympics.
That's true. And
4
we have
years
just
from
the
now.
amount of time.
And it happens to be in our city. It's like
Yeah.
you and I can't get closer to the Olympics than this. And plus, a little bit of the Olympic fever. Do some of these people, Olympians, come to LA to like get used to it?
A little tester. Maybe they could use us as interviewers the way NBC used Alex Cooper to interview Simone Biles
She did?
on like during the Olympics coverage. Maybe we could interview whoever.
Anyone. Any Olympian. I would have them, if you don't mind them coming to your house.
Yeah.
I would love to interview one of them. And
Yeah.
that would be a good way to also learn from them how to compete against them.
Yeah. I also heard that there's Tom Cruise is going to pass the torch from
No.
Paris to LA.
No, he's
like
not.
he is filming something at like the closing ceremony and he already pre-taped something at the Hollywood sign that like is him like catching something and like bringing it to LA. He like jumps off the Hollywood sign or some shit.
I have so many thoughts. First of all, that's what Jeff Probst does on Survivor. Do you ever watch Survivor?
It's been a while.
He takes the votes. He used to do this. It was so awesome. He takes the votes from tribal council in
right.
Fiji.
I saw that on Twitter.
And then he takes a jet ski, and you're supposed to believe that
He took
Jeff
it all the way to New
Probst
York.
took a jet ski from Fiji to New York. And then there was this beautiful one after 9/11 where he paused for a second and looked at the towers gone, and he started to cry. And then he rode past them, and they took him to the LA studio for the votes to read them.
Oh my God.
So that's all that to say, that's very reminiscent to me in my mind of what you just said Tom Cruise will do. Tom Cruise should take the Olympic torch of fire and light the Hollywood sign on fire. You know what I'm talking about?
that would be sick.
That would be so cool. But
Yeah.
not burn it down.
Yeah.
Just light it on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw he was watching Simone Biles the other day and he like watched her slay and he was just like, hell yeah. Like
Really?
he like got up on his feet and I was like, he gets it. Like he knows what physicality takes.
He loves testing the limits of what humans can do. And
Exactly.
all of his movies are about that.
Yeah.
So a real world example of that delights him to no end.
Totally.
That's
They should always have a Tom Cruise cam for all sports.
Do you think Tom Cruise, he really effectively, they definitely should. Tom Cruise really did a slow, great rebrand. One of the best of all time. From
Like we don't
jumping-
talk about his nasty shit anymore.
I don't even want to bring up him being one of the most prominent Scientologists who knows every secret that the Scientology church has ever done, because he's so pro film
Yeah.
and so pro jumping
Yeah.
out of planes and having fun that it almost like I don't want to bring into the conversation anything horrible that he might have done, jumping on the couch.
I don't want him to get canceled. We need him.
We need him.
Yeah. Did you see that thing about how Robert Downey Jr. is going to make $80 million to play like Doctor Doom or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck? And I'm like, give that money to someone else.
Well, 10 million would be if you just took a little bit off that and gave that to anyone like you
Us.
and I. Could you imagine what $5 million would do individually? Which that's fine.
We
if
can
you
make
just-
it last for life.
But I was kind of excited. I'm not a Marvel head, only because you brought this up while I talk about it. I kind of like the idea of them admitting that you don't really watch Marvel.
No, I gave up a long time ago.
I gave up too because I'm a little more knowledgeable, but phase 4 of Marvel was like pure shit.
Yeah.
So they're kind of going back to the well in a real way by just saying like everything we did was a flop without Robert Downey Jr. So we're going to pay him $80 million. And then everything Robert Downey Jr. did was a flop without Marvel. His 10 years, besides Oppenheimer, 5 years of his non-Marvel career was pure shit. He tried Dr. Dolittle.
Oh God.
He did a bunch of other, well, I don't know he
Were
did
those
Oppenheimer.
Sherlock Holmes movies popular?
I think they were until like the second one. People were like, I don't want to see this anymore. But anyway, both Marvel and Robert Downey Jr. had their kind of nadir without each other. And then he's just like, I'm coming back. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but I like it because I think that that's what Marvel needed. Not that I need Marvel to succeed. I just think it was a good idea.
It's so cynical.
Well, here's my thoughts of that are that I think that the entertainment industry now, they got a breath from Marvel to show what they can do. And for the most part, there has been no quality alternative to Marvel. You had 2 years.
Because they won't spend on it.
I guess I'll say what they want to spend on is not giving good quality. Like they're not using this window of time to make good decisions with artists. I'll say. So I think I feel very like this is very controversial, but I feel like we had an opportunity to show what a Marvel-less world looks like, and it turns out that there's just not the market for it anymore. So
Because they ruined the industry, and now we're all suffering for it, and people have to leave the city because you can't make money here. And they're giving him $80 million instead of paying like the artists who like paint the background of those movies. They just don't do it anymore, and those movies look like absolute dog shit.
They definitely do, and I'm not pro Marvel. I actually despise all Marvel films, but I'm just saying when you watch the Marvel list, I'm pro films, and I think that what we replaced those Marvel movies with was not.
I think they poisoned the well. Like, okay, for instance, I just went last night to the theater and saw Ordinary People, and I was like, remember when like grown ass adults would go and see a movie about like grief and that like your mom sucks and that like you're going to therapy and that probably, I didn't look it up, but I bet it made a good amount of money.
Right. I fully am on the side. I am on the side of that. I think that Marvel I don't 100% know if the theatrical experience, it was bound to die no matter what. And now it's possible that the only movies that people would be inclined to see in theaters are blockbuster movies because the streaming era would have happened no matter what. So movies like You Hurt My Feelings and Ordinary People, like no matter what, I think the theatrical experience of those films would have declined no matter what. And now maybe the only hope for theatrical, if you care about that, is these blockbuster movies. And I just think that I don't know. I mean, I think I'm being devil's advocate. I'm not pro Marvel.
I mean, Deadpool made $200 million opening weekend, and it looks like the most horrific piece of shit I've ever laid my eyes upon.
People are saying it's secretly good.
No one is saying that.
So I swear I am you. I am you
he
in this.
He does the NSYNC bye 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 dance in the introduction of the movie. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Okay.
What year is it? Who am I?
So
what has happened?
But don't you think?
No.
What am I? Yeah, you're right. You're right. What am I truly trying to say? Marvel. I was only saying at the start of this conversation.
It's like a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, it is. But is Fall Guy and Fly Me to the Moon?
Oh God, not that.
But I'm just saying, are these movies substantially better?
No, but those are also like, I mean, Fly Me to the Moon, I don't even know what the fuck that is. Like, that's, no one knows what that is.
Don't you think that there will just be like HBO for films?
Well, they can't even get HBO right anymore. They're
all
putting
right.
like the Penguin show on HBO now.
Don't get me started. I also am fully against what they're doing to the HBO brand.
It's a
right now.
travesty.
I think that Marvel.
There's no respect.
I know. I think that the cinema would die and Marvel's a scapegoat right now because I think there's something fundamentally even more corrupt in the entertainment industry than just Marvel. I don't think it necessarily fully
They're
killed.
profiting off the death of the
They're-
industry.
Yes, in a way. And I think that a new tier of like whatever like Criterion is doing, like Criterion or A24, they need to start funding the film so that there's $100 million budgets you don't really need $100 million budgets for anything. You do, but you know what I'm talking about? Like it needs to be more self-sustaining because obviously Hollywood entertainment industry is only focused on what's going to make a lot of money. So there just needs to be new outlets for how they get paid. But
The industry corner. Yeah, I mean, but I think I'm hopeful that there will be, with all things, a resurgence of people getting tired of being so insular at home, like getting all of their entertainment from TikTok. Like, I think there will be like a bounce back of people wanting a communal experience.
I think that you and I, 20 years from now, like there will still be 6 movie theaters, but they're all the Vista and the Rialto or, the Egyptian, like the theater experience for the most part is just
my mind is warped because I go to like 10 different there theaters at any given time. Like I see like 3 movies a week.
I know.
And they're always sold out.
I wish. Yeah. I think that that could be fun. That could be the future for a while. But I think that like books, physical books, it's going to be the reality of how we watch movies is just going to be completely altered. And so all the entertainment fundamentals are going to need to shift to acclimate to that new reality. You know what I mean? And you honestly, if Marvel is the thing, if you love theaters and Deadpool and Wolverine is what's taking up 14 of the 15, your complaint is that it degraded the audience's sensibilities, but which I totally do believe, but they would have left and gone home and rented that at home no matter what. You know what I mean? So it's, if anything, these are boosters of the theatrical experience for now.
I mean, it's like, Martin Scorsese already said it, but he's like, what do you call them? Like theme park movies or something like that. Like it's McDonald's.
But then
now we all have diabetes and we're all just gonna die.
So you are almost saying, well, this is a little bit long, but you're almost saying that
they don't hold the audience to any standard.
I think that the theater films have always catered to the masses, and you know what I mean? And it's like we're always going to find, you and I, cinephiles, like 2 of the biggest cinephiles you could ever meet. Some aspect of the industry is going to adapt to us, and then whatever the industry does without us.
But also those movies used to be better. Like crowd pleasers used to be better. Like the first blockbuster of all time is Jaws, and that movie is a perfect movie.
Yeah, don't get me started. I mean, movies are absolutely the worst they've ever been. I've liked maybe 6 movies in the last 5 years that I thought were masterpieces. So I am fully on board with the decline of film in general. I mean, completely. I don't think there's any more new auteurs that make any good movies. I'm just saying that, I don't know. I think that Marvel, I don't know, maybe we'll look back and
I'm just
be
like, can't we be done? Like, we did that already. Like, they'll like never let that era pass because it's too lucrative.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, I guess you could see Robert Downey Jr. lifting off that Dr. Doom mask and
It
be
was
like,
haunting to me.
This is a dawn of evil, which I sort of agree. My only thoughts are that of the garbage that is being made now, Marvel movies are at least a 7 out of 10, and they might be the only thing that people end up going to the theaters for before the theatrical experience completely dies, and it's just niche movie houses, But that's not a good thing.
Right.
It's just.
Then it's like they are worth nothing to me.
Yeah. 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 Well, anyway, and I forgot to say this episode is sponsored by Deadpool versus Wolverine. What is that
Is
called?
that what it's called?
Deadpool versus...
And that said, I love Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And I wish he didn't have to do this shit.
I think people are... Well, all right. I won't say it. I'm so down on Marvel too. And
You
yeah.
won't convince me that there's any merit to that film. Under any circumstances.
And I shouldn't be convincing you because I also don't think it's probably good. But anyway.
Apparently, like Jennifer Garner makes a cameo and talks about her divorce with Ben Affleck.
Really?
And it's all just very like meta.
Right.
Which I'm like, okay.
I
guess that's cool.
I understand.
You can like say whatever you want while making $200 million for like the biggest corporate empire of all time. Like
Disney?
it's not edgy.
Disney?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't think Disney kind of...
Like, oh my God, they're saying crazy shit in the mouse house. Oh my God.
You mean because it's a Disney
That's
property?
so like not what they normally do.
Well, Ryan Reynolds,
Don't get me started.
that's his sensibility.
He scares me.
I know.
I think he's a killer. Allegedly.
You know,
in my opinion.
We don't like... I wouldn't... I always get this TikTok. I don't want to say this guy's name. His name's... well, I don't want to say... I don't like this guy. No. I don't like this guy.
Is it a
but
comedian?
Yeah, it's a comedian. And
Okay.
he worked with Ryan Reynolds. I think you know who I'm talking about.
He's also bad though.
He is bad. I
Yeah.
know. That's why I'm like, I don't want to...
It's confusing.
It's confusing to be like the enemy of my enemy. Do I
Yeah.
trust this person?
I saw that.
But he said that Ryan Reynolds was a nightmare.
I'll say who it is.
Okay.
TJ Miller.
Yeah, and I don't know why.
He has a bad reputation.
He does.
Yes.
TJ Miller does.
Yes.
But he also
He has a
said,
worse reputation than Ryan Reynolds.
right. But he gave a peek behind the curtain because Ryan Reynolds didn't like him, and
He bullied
said,
him.
What?
He said he bullied
He
him.
said Ryan Reynolds bullied him on set and made fun of his role in the movies. Like you're
like meta. He did
he's-
like pulled a meta bully.
I don't know. I don't. I get what you mean about Ryan Reynolds.
He scares me. I think he's like at the least he's just like a shrewd operator and like figured out the business and just like reverse engineered his way in and then built in like all this like branding and like it fucking worked.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't want to defend Ryan
He's
Reynolds
Van Wilder.
because yeah, like I
He's
remember
to me like not a leading man. He was never going to be a leading man. It makes no fucking sense to me and I refuse to accept it.
And I will say, Free Guy is
Fall Guy?
I think no, sorry.
Oh,
no, Free Guy is the
I already
worst
forgot about
movie
that.
I've ever seen. That is
What was that about?
It's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's he plays a character in a video game, and it's like a character in a video game realizes that you can like die and what your role is. It's absolutely horrendous.
What was that from?
It was like three years ago or something,
Okay.
or 2
I
years
blocked
ago.
it out.
Yeah, it was. So I'm not a defender of him, and I'm not a defender of Marvel. I think I'm just more mad at the entertainment industry and what they're bringing to the table in general. To me,
Yeah.
that where I'm trying to look past Marvel as a scapegoat and just be bummed out about what the future of cinema is altogether.
Yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds is like, yeah, he's the last gasp of making as much money as you can before it all ends.
Yeah. I saw Taylor Swift because she's like dear friends with him and Blake. She posted on her Instagram story. It happened to be like the week that Kamala announced that she was running or whatever. And everyone's like, oh my God, if Taylor Swift could just help out, it would make such a big deal. Like that would be great. And she's like, wrote this like huge story post that was like, if you do anything this weekend, I was like, and it was like, go see Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Really?
And I'm like, no one needs you to do that. It's already going to make like a quarter
She did
billion.
not.
Yes, she did. It was her stories.
Taylor said go see Deadpool
Yes!
and Wolverine in theaters this weekend?
Yeah. And I'm like, I've never been closer to being convinced there's a Hollywood cabal.
Well, that just makes sense for these two best friends. You got to promote the biggest movie that they're ever doing. Wow, I kind of want to see the Taylor Swift Deadpool. That's gone, right?
You can Google it.
Okay.
Someone definitely covered it. But I
Okay.
was like, I have a screenshot because I sent it to people and was like, glad she's using her powers for good.
When you are in the theater seeing ordinary people, and
Yeah.
then you see
Good amount of people in there.
good, and then you see 500 people with big bags of popcorn. Their eyes are
Eyes.
glazed over, rolled back in their heads, and they have Deadpool on their shirt, and then one guy's wearing Wolverine on his shirt, and they're going, "I love movies. I'm so happy." Does it at all give you a little thrill that at least movies in general are having?
No,
a
they're
moment?
moot. they don't count. Twisters, on the other hand, I got that thrill from.
Right. But Twisters,
Which could also be seen as cynical because
It is
it's like
cynical.
ripped IP.
It is
But
cynical.
it was an original story that, like, you know, it could have just been, it at the least it felt like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
I get honoring. Well, honestly, actually, it's just such a testament to how bad movies are that
Yeah.
you're
my
rewarding.
standards couldn't be lower.
Yeah, you're rewarding a property, a reboot from 20 years ago from a movie that wasn't even that good to begin with, and that's seen as like, what auteur directed this? But it's like it looks so good in comparison to the trash that we're being heaped with. But I'm just saying but in overall, that kind of embodies how bad things are.
Yeah.
Completely.
Exactly.
And talk about a theme park ride. You said theme park ride.
Oh,
You're
literally.
spinning around in circles at the 40X getting sprayed with mist and water.
Exactly. Like, I can't quite justify the difference, except that I feel like the chokehold of the Marvel thing and like the superhero thing, like,
know.
is beyond.
I agree. I came out of Mission Impossible 7.
Like, I
Dead Reckoning.
defend those to the
Yeah,
death.
no, I love the Mission Impossible franchise, but I got out of 7 and I was like, God damn, at least it's not a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
These are some of the best, franchises that we have now, but it's like,
Yeah.
this would have been the degradation of cinema 20 years ago, but now Marvel just looks so bad in comparison.
Yeah. Well, it's also just because, I mean, I can't even really talk because I don't see them anymore, but like, from everything I've heard and seen, like, the quality of like the craftsmanship is such dog shit that I'm like, what are we even doing?
No. Marvel movies look absolutely horrendous. They
pay the animators and like the VFX people like $1 an hour.
Can I be a little stinker though? I thought Wonka looked like absolute fucking shit.
Yeah.
Worse than a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I thought it looked
fine.
like gray, scrambled
Wait, did you watch it?
garbage. I put it on. I had a friend come over. We watched 15 minutes of it, and I said, I'm turning this off right now. It with no dialogue, with it turned down, to just
Candy Crush.
What is
It
that?
looked like Candy Crush.
Didn't even look like Candy Crush. It looked like pixelated brown garbage. I was like, this movie is so ugly to me. And I'm like, everyone was loving Wonka for a second.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking garbage. This is fucking garbage.
Yeah.
The Bob Dylan movie that's coming out with Timothée Chalamet
Oh my
is
God,
fucking
you have a
garbage.
vendetta against Timmy.
Timmy is a sign of the decline of cinema. For sure.
Dune?
Dune 2 is great. Dune 2 is a celebration. If everything was like Dune 2, I'm like, movies are fucking back.
Denis.
I thought Denis Villeneuve's movies were pure shit up until I saw Dune 2 in theaters with you and all of our friends, and I was like, whoa. I was like, that fucking blew my hair back. Oh, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't think Denis had it in him, and he fucking killed it. That is a future of a blockbuster. That's a good route that we're going in, and I understand the major difference between something like that and Marvel. That's
Dune
something to
has
root
class.
for. Oh, it's so classy. It was the first time I actually bought Timothée Chalamet. I was like, damn, he's kind of ripping it up as what's his name?
Paul Atreides.
Paul Atreides. I was like,
Taking a dark turn.
yeah, I liked him
Messiah figure.
screaming like that.
Lisan El Gaib.
Lisan El Gaib. I was kind of in the tank for Timmy after Dune 2. I was like, that was good.
I think he has a bright future, but yeah, that Bob Dylan thing looks a little rough. Rough.
Well, that was when Amy and I talk about film, right?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
We went on a tangent, but there was Bravo news.
A little bit. Do you think? It was
I
kind of
mean, but has anything come of this? So you guys probably saw Jax announced, or his reps announced, that he was going to inpatient treatment facility for mental health this week, and we know that they're filming The Valley right now.
Yeah, so Valley filming started like a week ago, and they've already done a lot of stuff. Like, Danny went over to Jax's house, and they got in like a fight, Jax and Danny.
Okay.
And then they all went to like Santa Barbara, and Kristen got invited on this trip. But then in the midst of this, I guess Jax thought this was the time. I like follow him obviously on Instagram, and on Monday he posted these 2 self-help books. Did you see that?
What were they?
It was
Something
like
about boundaries.
learn your boundaries, and then it was. Hold on, let me look it up. Oh God, I didn't spell Jax right. Jeez, it's so easy to spell it. I can't find him. Oh, this happened last week. Jax?
Wait.
He's Mr. I'm sorry. He's Mr.
Jax
I forgot
Taylor.
about that. Yeah, it said, sorry, he would have never disabled his Instagram. Oh, he took that post down.
Oh, damn. Was it stories, maybe? Well, anyways.
I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah,
he said learning boundaries and how to get better. And then the next day on a Tuesday, the world or his rep let us know that he was checking in to inpatient. And I don't know anything about mental health facilities, but inpatient means you're there. Mm-hmm. So his Valley, like a significant amount of his time on the Valley is going to be him in an inpatient mental health facility. Do you think you go?
They can't film in there.
Do you think that? I mean,
well, the question is he actually going?
I think he's going. But like we said with the Jax and Brittany, like when they chose to stop being in a relationship, the timing makes you like think of everything. But I would have to assume Jax, if he's going to get mental health treatment, unless something really set him off,
right?
This is not the best time when he could have done this if they're not able to film with you, unless something. But then Brittany's going on a trip to Santa Barbara, like drinking
She's like
wine.
with the girlies.
So it's not like Jax had a mental breakdown that was stemmed from something that happened on the Valley, but I'm going to go on this Santa Barbara trip.
Yeah, it's strange. And then Rachel Leviss posted about what did she say? Like, I'm proud of him. Like anyone, like we should all support him. Unlike you guys,
Who
to
didn't
me,
support me. Yeah, I don't know
who
if we
said
have
I
to
was
read.
at a spa, and for some reason she formatted it as a video where you got to watch her type out her notes app.
Yeah,
Which I've never seen before.
Me either.
It's kind of brilliant because I feel like Instagram favors reels. So maybe she knew that it wouldn't get as much engagement if she posted it as a screenshot.
Really?
That's my theory as a social media maven.
Do you know that to be true?
Instagram is like obsessed with you making a reel.
Let's make reels.
We should. We're lazy. I'm lazy. I'll speak for myself.
Let's do. Okay. So she said, yeah, I am saddened to hear of Jax's mental health struggles, and I wholeheartedly support his decision. I pray that the news is met with open-mindedness that mine lacked as I faced mockery and accusations of going to a spa. What to say about that?
It's kind of like she's like, this is my topic. Like, does she get Google alerts for like Bravo mental health?
I think
she really hopped aboard.
Yeah, I think it was just like, this is so in my wheelhouse that I should make a statement, and then kind of calls us to account for how we treated her when she went in.
How much did her and Jax really overlap?
I don't think Jax loved Rachel too much on the seasons that he had with her.
Did he make fun of the puppy party?
He was not a huge Rachel. He said disparaging things about her, and I think he still would. So I don't know if he'd be like a huge proponent of that. But I think, first of all, I think Jax is doing this because he's openly talked about mental health struggles. I just don't know logistically how this makes sense with the Valley filming. Is it Jax is out? Is it Jax filming this recovery on camera? That's the only way. Because I even if you think of Jax, I think of this as a good thing. I don't really think of him as being like doing this for attention. But even he, at his, no matter what, he would be thinking about filming season 2 of The Valley, and just that impact, like on his storyline, like you have to just factor that in.
Right.
Unless it was something so horrible to happen, but it doesn't seem like it. Like he sent a post to Cruz saying, "Goodbye, my boy. Daddy's gonna get better for you soon." No, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that this has to be a part of the Valley arc
storyline.
And I think
maybe he watched Ordinary People and he was like, "Wow, therapy is powerful."
Can you tell me about? I don't know anything about Ordinary People. Is it?
You have to watch it.
Is it? It's not Albert Brooks, is it?
No, Robert Redford directed it.
Robert Redford.
It was Best Picture. I think it got Best Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor.
Did you read the Sundance book? What's it called? Miramax and slacks, and it's called.
I don't think I read that one.
Okay. He comes off as a little bit
Dick.
a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's a great movie though.
Okay. Wow.
It's about the parents are Mary Tyler Moore and Donald Sutherland.
Okay,
That's
love
why they were
Donald
showing
Sutherland.
it. It's like a retrospective.
Okay.
And their son is Timothy Hutton. It's not a spoiler. It's the outline. It's like that's the log line. It's like his brother, their son, dies in a sailing accident.
Whoa.
Both sons are there, but one survives. He has like a very hard time after the death of his brother, and like attempts suicide and goes to a mental health facility. And the movie is him after getting back and just like going back to high school and like living with his parents and like trying to keep it together. And he like gets a therapist, Judd Hirsch. And it's almost like I was thinking, they've probably said this, it felt very much, I know we've talked a lot about the Robin Williams archetype of that role of like in Good Will Hunting.
Oh yeah, right.
Like it felt like they saw ordinary people and were like, ooh, like a really like cool, chill therapist that has like a heart of gold.
And Judd Hirsch plays that
Yes,
character.
yes.
Okay, I like Judd Hirsch because I watched that Spielberg movie.
Yeah, The Fabelmans.
Yep.
Which, by the way, we were talking about Mark Maron earlier. He was joking on his podcast that when Judd Hirsch dies, he's just going to start taking all his roles.
He said that?
And I was watching Ordinary People, and I was like, if they remade Ordinary People, Mark Maron would be perfect for this role.
Really? I
think he fits he's a good, like, indie. Like, I thought he was good in To Leslie.
Oh, I never saw that.
He was good. I think he was nominated for, like, a Golden Globe or something.
I can't stand Mark Maron.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for him.
I would be mad if if Mark Maron took over that spot.
I think he
in movies.
has
He takes
potential
me out of,
as an actor.
I don't know. I just see, that's
What
my
movie
own
are you
personal.
talking about?
He takes me out of any movie that he's in. I mean, I don't
Like what?
What movies has he been in? I don't know. I have a personal grudge against Mark Maron.
He was rude to you? I've heard he's a dick.
I mean, his whole podcast.
Not anymore.
It started.
It's like the oldest podcast of all time.
The foundation of it was him apologizing to all of the people that he treated awfully for years because he was so bitter and mean and
they
horrible.
were great interviews.
They're wonderful interviews. And then he gets all this fame and clout from doing that, and he turns into an absolute bitter piece of shit again. He didn't learn his lesson. It's like the exact arc that we talk about.
I don't get that vibe on the show anymore.
Well, I don't listen anymore, but I think that he's a well.
Well, anyways,
hopefully, if I'm wrong, I hope he has learned.
Let's hope
from...
Judd Hirsch lives forever.
Yeah,
he could just
right.
keep playing himself.
Yeah,
but no, it's a wonderful movie, but it is ultimately about how therapy can help you overcome and get in touch with your emotions.
Good. So
Jax should watch it.
Jax probably watch it. So what do you think? I mean, is there anything more? Is there any context about this that matters other than Jax Taylor checks into mental health? Like, do you stay there all night?
Yeah.
So it's like he's gonna be there.
Usually you go for like weeks to months.
So filming started. It's 2 weeks into filming. He had a fight with Danny. He's probably having scenes with Brittany. And then he says, I'm going to go into a inpatient mental health facility. And most likely they won't film him while he's in there.
They can't go in there.
Are you sure that, what if like
That's
his
like a HIPAA violation all over the place.
What if his therapy scenes, just like his therapy scenes, they found a mental health treatment facility that's conducive to filming?
That place should be red tagged if they let Bravo cameras in there.
Would you, I don't know if it sounds, is it bad of me to wish that I could see that experience?
I'm trying to think if that's ever been the case outside of like
Girl Interrupted.
Intervention. I'm talking about like real life. Like even Intervention, I think they show them getting dropped off and then they have to leave.
So it's a sacred, if you're going to a good mental health treatment facility, it's a sacred place where you could never film.
Totally.
Okay. So I'm wrong to even, or not wrong, but I'm
like even,
not
it's
right.
Like, yeah, they don't film like AA meetings or like even like
They haven't filmed AA meetings ever in Bravo
I don't-
history? Yeah, I
not
guess you're
unless
right.
it was like not a phony one, but like no.
Would you? Okay, now I'm now I'm backing down as if this has never happened in history and it wouldn't happen. But is it wrong? Is it wrong of me to think that it would be interesting to watch what happens in there? Is it too private? Is that a bridge too far for Bravo? Is that a too deep into human psychology and misery to let us see
I
it?
mean, I think for the tenor of the show, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I
It's
really
not like a self-help show.
I really thought Bravo has gone into such unknown territory, or is you're right. Intervention is probably the best example. I did think that it wasn't out of the question, I guess, that Bravo could potentially highlight this journey on camera. But now, as I say it, I'm like, whoa, maybe that would
It's like
never happen.
it goes between like the girls' trip in Santa Barbara to like a round, in the round discussion of people talking about their like mental break.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else would participate, but I guess I'm very Bravo, very reality TV. I
We
don't
can
know.
talk about his, on TikTok, the millennials and Gen Z are very sort of humorous about they call it like, the grippy socks, and they like do their crafts.
What's that mean?
Like, when you check in, they give you what to wear, and it could include the hospital socks with the grips on the bottom.
Wait. Sorry, Gen Z. You said Gen Z.
There's like a lot of like mental institution humor.
There is.
Yeah.
Oh, on TikTok
At
about
least
going to
my
one?
algorithm. And you like do crafts while you're there usually, because they do like calming shit, and you
Okay.
like watch certain movies, and like so I would be curious to hear about Jax's experience, where exactly he's going, why he thinks he's going.
So in your mind, because you knew, not unlike me, that this would never be filmed. Like he goes for a week or 2 weeks, he's off camera. So that means this is a fully there's no Valley aspect to this at all. It's just Jax
Yeah.
had something happen, and he was like, I need to get help immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could run the gambit. Like, there's all kinds of places like that. Like, there's like obviously like very intense ones, and then ones that are more like wellness driven.
But
And I don't
none would-
know. I don't know what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we'll only see. I guess for me, in my mind, before I had this conversation with you, there was like only a 10% chance in my mind that Jax was just like out during filming and would just be seeking treatment for the entire, almost the run of the Valley filming.
Yeah.
And then I
can't even imagine him doing that.
I know that's what I'm saying. Even if you think Jax is worse, which I'm a defender of Jax, a lot of the time, even I would have to acknowledge that Jax would factor in filming
Yeah.
because
And he needs that
just
cash.
got back on the show. He just got back. Like I unless it was such a break that he was, or he felt like, whoa, I am really sabotaging my relationships. I feel horrible. It's time to check in, and the Valley filming schedule be damned.
Right. Yeah. It's hard not to be cynical about
It's hard not
his,
to be
decision making reasons.
But I'm not even being cynical about him. I'm only thinking, even the person needing help the most, like I still imagine that Jax would factor in, even as a showman, like as the Valley as his show, I feel like he would factor that in.
Right. Yeah. I
In some
mean,
way.
we need more info.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's say goodnight to that story that brought up a lot of, interesting facets.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have any more to say? Or should we?
Can I pee first?
Of course. I can't believe we did this. All right. 50 minutes of news. We talked about movies for 30 minutes. Amy's going to go pee. And we're back.
Hello. I have to say, and if people aren't watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my Kristen Doty t-shirt today, which I decided is my most brat outfit.
Oh, that's why you're wearing it?
It's giving brat.
Are you still having a brat summer?
Yeah.
Good. Well, you are?
I was, I don't remember if I said this last time, but when I bought my Charlie XCX tickets, I was really concerned about what a girl like me wears to a show like that, because I'm not cool like that.
What are you talking about?
Because the girls are gonna be wearing like a friggin' thong. Like,
Really? At Charlie XCX's concert?
like
Where are you
TNA.
I'm not even going to repeat what that is. Where are you going to see her?
The Forum.
Do you like the Forum? Do you like the Forum as a? I think that's one of the. I think I'm being very negative this
Negative
episode, but
Nancy.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's far as fuck. It sucks to
The
get
seats
there.
are horrible.
Like, in what?
The
Like,
seats are horrible.
comfortability?
Yeah, in their comfortability.
The thing that I liked about it, I saw Madonna there a few months ago.
Okay.
And what was exciting to me is that the only shows, like arena shows I usually go to, are Beyonce, which are like 100,000 seat venues.
Mm-hmm.
So the Forum is so much smaller
Yeah.
that the shittiest seats are like the best Beyonce seats.
True.
So you can see people for cheap.
You can see people for cheap for sure. I do like that, but as a venue, I was
It's
really,
like crusty.
Yeah, it was like the seats were horrible, like physically comfortability
see there?
wise. I saw I saw Modest Mouse. I was like, wait, who the hell did I see? I saw Modest Mouse, a band.
We've talked about this.
We did?
Because then I said I saw them at the Universal Amphitheater that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. But I said after that, I said never again Forum. I mean, it has to be pretty bad for me to make that declaration in my mind, because I don't even remember the experience, but I knew in my mind, I said, never will I do that again. So, but
Well, at Madonna, I was on my feet, so
having fun. You mean you were on the
I
floor?
wasn't even sitting.
That's amazing.
I wasn't on the floor, but everyone was standing anyways.
I'm so negative, but I hate when I have a seat and people stand in front of me when you could just sit.
But like, I understand for certain acts,
Right.
but like,
Yeah, right. I was at the National at the Greek, and people started standing up, and it's just kind of like a bummer because you could just sit.
Yeah.
But people are standing in front of you. But you okay? All right. Enough about.
I saw Shaka Khan at the Bowl
I saw
last
that.
Friday, and the crowd was hype
Were they standing?
at times.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start standing at concerts when the crowd starts to stand in front of me. I'm going to start standing, but it's one of my, it really does make me mad sometimes when you could sit and everyone could see properly, but then the spirit of the music just infects someone, so it ruins the visibility for everyone else. But you're not,
Yeah.
I understand. I'm alone in that. So, all right. Wait. So you were saying Brat Summer?
Oh yeah, I was just saying that I was concerned about what to wear to Charlie XCX, and I was like, I should buy a super oversized Kristen Doty t-shirt and wear it as like a dress.
People would flip out as a dress.
Yeah,
Will you do that?
like a little brat.
Oh my God. Did you see? We don't toot our own horns ever, except when we compliment ourselves all the time. But we saw Zach Wickham.
Oh yeah,
Wickham?
yeah.
Zach Wickham from the Valley that we were just talking about. He posted, which our Villa Rosa VIPs thankfully showed us this. Zach goes, when you're wearing one of the most iconic shirts of all time, or he said something even cooler than that, and it was one of our beautiful Turtle
He
Time
ran
shirts.
into
It was your
like
shirt.
a hunk at a bar wearing the Kristen Doty Turtle Time t-shirt, and he posed with him and tweeted it.
That's wild. Are you excited by that?
Yeah, we should post that. Repost.
We should.
Yeah.
But I think I'm fully 100% in support of you getting a gigantic Chris and Doty shirt and wearing that to Charlie XCX. Is that in the running?
She's a party girl. It makes sense.
Yeah. Is that an option?
I think I can make it happen.
Good.
I
Good.
have access.
All right, good. Yeah, of course. You only have to pay like what? Like
Face
14
value.
bucks? Well, good. So I'll talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about OC,
Yep.
which you and I just watched together. That's why the energy of this is a little off, because it's 8:30 at night. So we just watched OC. We're going to talk about this week's OC while also putting in little pieces of last week's OC.
Because we didn't cover it.
And then, depending on how much time we have, we'll talk about Jersey from last week, which I thought was actually pretty great.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Good.
So I'm going to start by just running through the bullets of last week. Last week was episode 3, Red Flags and Flag Football, which we both agreed way too much sports happening both last week and this week.
yeah, it was about 20 minutes. I mean, I'm sure that's exaggerating, but it felt like we watched every second of that flag football game. To me, that's not a good sign when the editors have to fill up an episode with an event that normally would take about 4 minutes.
Right.
It was way too long. And then you and I, as we watched this week's episode, they did the exact same thing with golf. And I'm like, okay, I heard this season of OC was good, but if you're already having to stretch out 2 sporting events to take up half an episode each of the last 2 episodes, it makes you a little worried.
Right. I agree. Okay, so the things that I bulleted were I loved that Jen called out Gina saying that as a woman who once lived in a casita, she should understand.
Yes.
And I was like, let's keep that casita. I think the casita of it all is very funny still.
Yeah, and you're probably going to get to this point, but I think she realized
This week, yeah.
last week.
Yeah,
last week that this position is not very endearing, like we talked about last week's episode. This is not going to garner fans or support. You being on the side of the landlord and getting mad at someone who can't pay rent. It's your friend.
Yeah.
So, that was, I don't know if that's your next point, but yeah. It's like.
Yeah. At, before she comes to, she's calling Jen a squatter.
Yeah. Saying
that she was squatting at that property, which is brutal.
And then Emily, I want to say, in addition to that, I don't understand because I love Emily and I love Shane. They're 2 of my favorite people in the Bravo universe. But Emily, when she's like mean to Jen, when this
she's
isn't
like,
even
"Yep,
her...
you're a squatter."
Yeah, and she keeps making digs at Jen not having money and needing to buy a house. I'm like, Emily, I ride for you so hard, but that type of energy, being mean to Jen for no reason, just because she did this to Gina, which now even Gina knows that she's gone too far, just doesn't come off well at all.
She seems a little off track to me.
I know. It's like I don't want it, like, because Emily was the recipient of so much mean energy from Tamra and Shannon and whoever for a long time, and then now to think that you're on top and you give that energy now to the weakest link in your mind, that mean energy, it just always comes off wrong, in my mind. And she does it even this episode too that we just watched.
Yeah, I feel like her allegiances are weird too, so more to come on that. I wanted to bring up that Johnny J and Alexis have commandeered Shannon's gym, and in a conversation, Alexis was like, blah, 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 my trainer, our trainer, John's trainer. And she's like, well, it's John's gym. And it's like, of course, I was counting down the seconds. I always bring it up for them to roll the Shannon clip.
I thought of you. The minute they said Shannon and Jim, I almost texted you. And I was like, wait, we'll talk about it when this happens. I go, oh my God, they're going to do it.
And they did.
10 seconds of Shannon lifting up her shirt for her trainer, who goes, whoa, and takes a photo.
She goes
of
like, get ready. Like, she's like, it's pretty bad, like not good for me. And he's like, he basically is like, holy shit. And it's like so brutal that they keep playing it.
They once you said it, they play it all the time. Is it so wild though to you that we're now in an Ozempic era where like this stuff is like, that's going to be in the past for almost everyone we watch on these shows. Like it seems like the past already now in this Ozempic era.
Right. I would love a segment with, speaking of cameras in the medical facility, Dr. Moon talking about what semaglutide is, how it's working for, I mean, she hasn't said she's on it. I don't want to, whatever.
Shannon hasn't said she's on it?
No.
Oh.
So I'm not going to say that she is or whatever, but
is it's wrong to speculate?
I don't know. It's just, I usually assume.
I take what Dolores said to heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone who had drastic weight loss in the Bravo universe is on Ozempic, and I think I want to get away from the shame of it.
No, yeah, like I don't give a fuck. If I was a housewife, I'd be like all day long. But she used to always go to Dr. Moon, and he would always talk about like her chakras and like her, you know, all of the different things that he was helping her. You know, remember she got that enema stuck up her ass, and Simon had to get it out. No, sorry, not Simon. What was it? David?
Yeah, Shannon.
They kind of look. I get them confused.
Me too.
They look the same.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because they're both exes from the past.
Yeah, and they look like they could be related.
Yeah.
They have a similar look.
Yeah, David Bador.
They kind of have like not as hot Christopher Plummer energy.
You think so?
I do.
Let me think about that. Yeah, David Bador. You're right. David Bador had to get the enema out of Shannon's ass, right?
Yeah.
Because she
And that was a Dr. Moon special.
Yeah, that was giving you always. Once you said that Shannon always gives Charlie Chaplin energy. Now I think about all those scenes in that context, and that was so Little Tramp when she
Totally.
was like, "Get this thing out of my
It's like
ass."
a Buster
It's like,
Keaton stunt.
Yeah, and it's like David's like, "Whoa, I gotta get it out of your ass." Like that fully calls that to mind.
She's a comedian.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I would love a check in with Dr. Moon first and foremost. Because I feel like that also relates. We haven't gotten that like Eastern vibe from her in a while. Like the whole like lemons in a bowl thing.
Yeah.
Like remember she had that smart
Crystals.
house where like
Yeah.
her house was built on like crystal geysers or whatever the fuck.
Are you saying she's not as holistic anymore?
Yeah, I want to see it again.
Me too. But don't you think she gave us? Don't you think she gave us a lot of that? And then now, well, I don't know.
Remember she had that thing where her chandelier could be lowered so that you could clean it and then send it back up.
I don't remember that, to be honest.
I remember it was the first time that Heather was like, "Holy shit! Like
This
this is a nice house."
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
She got the
like she
approval
was
of
like,
Heather?
"Whoa."
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you like? I don't know if this is in your highlights, but did you like Emily? Because this kind of speaks to me as a fan. Emily and Shane's love. Did you like when Shannon and Emily went to go get boudoir photos together?
That was fun. That's classic.
Yeah,
Yeah. She looked great too.
Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun. I also liked, I highlighted that they did a montage of Shane loving big gulps,
Yeah.
which I was like, when I just thought I couldn't love him more, I get a big gulp multiple times a week. I love it.
That's great. And Emily was filming all of the diet or big gulps that
Yeah.
are around her house and where they go. She says he gets one every single morning, and then he carries that around the house as he continues to drink it. He should do that thing where you put the time, you know, the water bottles with the time on it
Oh,
to
yeah.
show,
Like,
to
almost
demarcate how
done.
long. Yeah. But then,
I usually get, they have like 5 different sizes, and I usually just get like the biggest one because I'm like, who are we kidding? Like,
Right.
why wouldn't I just get the biggest? But that biggest one in Shane's hand would be like up to his knee.
oh my God. Yeah, that would be so huge. And then that conversation, I kind of liked that towards the end. That's about Shane's health,
Yeah.
right? Because Emily said, I'm like doing so much fitness oriented stuff. I'm going to the gym all the time. Shane's not doing that. And then she talks about this kind of horrific thing that she witnessed where she came into like the office where he was working, and he was just
God.
doubled over in pain, saying, my heart, it hurts so bad. And then she said, this is not funny, but there's a dog that's barking. So it sounds, it's like, sorry, it's not funny. But then she said that he didn't go to the hospital. He didn't go to the hospital and ever get that checked out.
That's insane.
Yeah, and so she's worried. She's like, I don't want you to turn into a guy that goes on the golf course and at 50 just keels over and dies.
I know. Juxtaposed with the anaphylaxis on New Jersey, I was like, these men need to get real.
And Terry.
I know. Terry, well, yeah, he's a fucking doctor, and Heather had to force him.
It's just like those sudden deaths. I
You
mean,
can't
I
be
guess
joking around. Yeah.
it's horrible
So,
to think about.
Yeah, she was basically like, I think I take my health too seriously at this point. I'm like obsessed, and you don't at all.
Can we
So
meet
let's
in the
meet in the middle.
And then Shane goes, well, you have no idea the kind of shit that I'm doing around the house. So he's not like fully committed, I think,
Yeah.
to this health journey
Right.
with Emily.
Yeah. I also wanted to note they go through like Jen's financial struggles and how she basically she went from like being supported by her parents to being supported by her husband to now not knowing what the fuck to do. And the producer, I was surprised they asked her this. Like, I feel like they like knew already or something, but they were like, when did you first get a credit card in your own name? And she was like, I've never had a credit card in my own name. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And my only thoughts were that, I mean, do we know, did she marry like really young to that guy, William Petrante?
It might have been like a high school sweetheart situation.
Like, I understand. I think I felt bad for myself. Like, I didn't have a credit card until I was like maybe 30 or something.
Really?
So
Oh man, I was like, give me that plastic immediately.
yeah, I was just like, it seems wild to now think about a time when you're just charging everything in full when I know I can just pay it off and get points or whatever.
Well,
But
interest is a bitch.
well, yeah. But I could see a world where, or it
Yeah,
didn't
like
feel
if
so off, like to me, so shocking that while she was with this person, he financially took care of every aspect of her, and she never had the time where she had to be an adult on her own. I
Yeah.
wasn't so taken aback by that.
Yeah.
And it kind of then does allow for more of these situations that she keeps getting in with her finances
Yeah.
to be like, sorry, I don't even know how to pay the gas bill.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like that happens time and again on Housewives where it's like, I think eventually there will be a turnover where that sort of thinking isn't a thing anymore, or at least
Yeah.
not as much. Because all of these women, like almost all housewives have had to start over at some point. That's
Yeah.
kind of like the glory of the show. We've talked about that. Like
Yeah.
they're almost all divorced across all cities. They have all had to like I think Gina, when she gets real about, being cruel to Jen, she's like, I'm just digging myself out of, she's like, we've all been ruined by our divorces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think people are going to start to set up those systems differently, knowing that it can be such a wreck.
Yeah. So Jen, and they're kind of telling Jen that. They're like, get things in order this time, because
She had to offload her car. Ryan absorbed the debt that the remaining balance, and then he gave her his car.
I feel so bad for Jen. Like, I don't want to even overestimate how much I think Ryan is going to fuck her over, because like there's already been so many warning signs.
I
But like,
know.
I'm just like, God damn, like we're watching a relationship that most likely will end badly.
I know. She needs to hurry up and get on her feet so that by the time he fucks her over, she won't be destitute.
What can Jen do? Like, I wanted to like think about this, because like,
Ditch the yoga studio.
yeah, like what?
That's a
but
succubus.
she needs to, use your clout now. If she gets a
Yeah.
third season, which I think she should,
Yeah.
at least, but like, figure out now what the thing is, because Ryan already tried and he had the biggest flop merchandise I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
That hashtag dick pic
Right.
shit, which like basically sullied her brand. The fact that she was even close to being
I
affiliated
know.
with
No
that
one
was
wants
horrible.
to give him money.
No, right. So it
Yeah.
needs to be a fully independent, I support Jen through this endeavor.
Yeah, she needs to find her weed business like Tamra. 'cause
Totally.
That did well for her, I think.
Did it?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and then I wanted to just touch on because it comes into fruition on the next episode, but Gina essentially breaking up with Travis without
Yeah.
saying so, and that she kind of like just says it, that like she finally has extra money to spend and she wants to spend it on her kids, not his. And I was like, oh,
It's
that's savage. I mean, it's honest.
right. That's why I give Gina credit.
Like she's
for,
like, I no longer agree that we are a family.
but yeah,
I don't want to pay for your kids.
But then I think of the reality of that, and I'm like, what happened? This is not funny. What happens to Travis's kids who relied on this foundation with those kids who they thought were their siblings, like
Von Traps.
I was totally thinking of Von Traps. So I was like, that's the same mother, but
Brady Bunch.
Total Brady Bunch. I'm like, something else is going on to where you feel comfortable enough honestly saying that I want to use my finances to the future of this family, and your family is like a train wreck because your ex is like pulling your money away and she's in with your kids. Like, whatever the fuck is going on in Travis's life, Gina's like, I'm on the expressway to a new, better life, and I can't have your shit in my life.
Yeah. And he's basically like, he's moving out and moving all his shit into those like bags, those like IKEA or like Amazon bags.
Right.
And it's really sad. And he seems very
sad.
bummed.
It's so openly Gina's decision.
Yeah.
But she wants to leave enough.
Yeah, she won't just rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah, she wants to leave us to think that there might be some alternate version of what this actually means. But Travis just keeps saying, "You're kicking me out."
Yeah.
Like you're.
Well, she's like, she makes a comment about how there's not enough space for the kids, and he goes, "You got to stop blaming the children because you're the one that asked for this. They would rather be together with less space."
Did we hear off camera that Travis is the one who won't divorce his wife?
Someone said that. Someone commented that, I think.
Okay.
So we should look into it.
We should. Okay. Because that does make things a little different.
Right.
If Travis isn't the one that is initiating the divorce.
So yeah, it's a bummer. I couldn't handle the dog seeing him off. I was like, this is full like Stars Born shit. Like I can't take it. And then I just wanted to touch on the Sutton connection because she makes a cameo here. And the connection is that Sutton's ex-husband is the president of the mutual fund that Gina's ex, Matt, worked for.
Right.
Which is complicated.
Yeah.
I doubt that they knew each other.
So Sutton's ex was the head of it.
Yeah.
And then Matt worked there.
Right.
Was it a mutual fund?
Yeah.
Is that what we learned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sutton says that she lived in the OC in 2008.
I know.
Right
that
around
was
the
cool.
crisis.
Yeah, but then it gets into that scene also has Katie planting the seeds of the Heather snub, which we get into this week.
Yes. And she said that the first time she talked to Sutton, that Sutton called her dim.
Yeah.
And they had to like fight it out.
Yeah.
And then ended up liking each other.
Katie said, what was Katie's comeback? She goes, "I'm not as dim as you might think." And she said Sutton put her head back and started cackling, laughing, and said, "What an interesting rapport."
Yeah, I was like, okay. And then she was like, Sutton was like, "If a pig walked into my kitchen, I'd make him bacon." And I was like, Dr. Phil, like what?
Yeah, I was really happy for that Sutton scene, but I don't know if it was what I wanted. I miss Sutton and I love Sutton on Beverly Hills, but I didn't get my full Sutton fill from.
I know they're doing like this weird crossover shit with Katie.
Right.
So, anyways, but it's a pretty seamless entry into the new one.
Yeah.
From this week called "Not My Cup of Tea," TEE, as in golf tea.
Yeah. Speaking of tea, things you can drink, do you mind if I just have 1 second to grab a
beverage?
cup of water?
Yes.
All right. We'll take one quick break and we'll be right back with this week's episode of OC.
Sure.
I'm back. Thank you for letting me get that water.
Yes. Stay hydrated.
So not my cup of, you said it, TEE, as in golf.
Yes.
Because Katie, we know, she's a huge golf reporter, and so is her husband.
Yeah.
Right?
They're really trying to make us care about that.
Yeah.
It opens up with Heather and Terry at their LA penthouse, and they're trying to point out their new mansion in Beverly Hills, and they go, "Is that our house up on the hill, or is that Drake's house?"
Yeah. So what'd you think about that?
Fun, I guess.
I think a little bit, it was rubbing our noses in how rich they are.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about? Like from our LA penthouse that we also bought, you can see our Beverly Hills house.
Isn't that what we come here for?
Yes. Yeah. But
Remember when Adrienne Maloof would walk across through her gate, through Lisa's gate, when they lived across the street from each other pre-Villa Rosa? I miss that shit.
Me too. I love wealth, but in my mind, like they say, wealth whispers, and we know
money talks.
Money talks. Our type of money talks.
Right, it regret
wealth
it.
whispers. I'm just saying that I love Heather and Terry, as you know. I do love them, but I felt a little. You could, if you were anti-rich and you wanted to like eat the rich, and you were mad and you're poor, like. Sometimes I feel that way. You could take this as like they're like gloating about how wealthy they are in a way that's not fun.
Uh-huh.
I thought.
I because you know how we were hypothesizing that they're going to have like a spin-off about like redoing that other
Me
house
too.
or whatever. The way that this was shot, like the glamour shot of them on the balcony was giving like $1 million listing.
Yeah.
So it like felt again like a little precursor to that vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're talking about renting out that penthouse because they don't have room for their kids, which I'm like, why did you even buy it in the first place? But
She says,
whatever.
this LA penthouse is basically a closet.
Right.
So we need to sell this LA penthouse and buy another temporary property while we build our dream home. Is that where we're at? Plus they have that home in the OC that's in that.
They're staying at that beach club or whatever.
Oh, okay. So they're
Yeah.
okay. So they're going to sell the penthouse so they can be in that OC property while they're Beverly Hills.
They were talking about renting it out,
Okay.
but she said she didn't want to.
Okay.
Also on Watch What Happens Live, Andy asked her if she would be on how she likes living in Beverly Hills and if she would be on Beverly Hills Housewives. And she was like, I love living in Beverly Hills. I'm taking groundlings classes, reconnecting with my old friends. And she's like, and for that second question, I'd have to talk to you. And he was like, it would be a conversation.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Heather is taking groundlings classes?
That I would want to see.
We have to go to Groundlings 101 class, sit in the audience and see if we get Heather Dubrow's appearance.
Yeah. I love imagining her like driving down to Melrose.
Then this is when they talk about a little bit about how we alluded to this already, Terry had that stroke, which happened sort of in the off season. It was by the reunion they talked about it.
Yeah.
But you and I never covered it, and I didn't think about it ever again. I just like forgot about it.
Yeah, she said that she has a new lease on life after that. Like she's not sweating the small stuff because it was so scary. And then they sort of plugged some app that I didn't really know what it was called like Life 360 that she claims saved his life, which now they are like partners with or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what that is. And I don't know. I'm like, I'm team, they could never make me hate Terry. I think they're a very sweet couple and I enjoy them together.
Yeah, it was sweet and good. They're a great couple, but I did think, as we go into this episode, I think Heather got a little busted this episode, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think Katie kind of gave her the business a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay.
Then all the women except for Heather and Shannon go for a dive bar night in like a party bus. And this is where Katie brings up to the other women that she heard that Heather does in fact call the paparazzi, bringing back an old storyline from last season of the photos of her and Terry at Disneyland where they look very staged and they're like pointing at stuff and like prom pose or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine that you found that out, but like we did this already.
Yes, I agree. I feel the same way. I'm like, let's never talk about that again. Also, it reminds me of the horrible season last season when Heather was, everyone was
attack.
coming for her. But I think that Heather, I really love Heather, but if you get busted, those looked fake.
Yeah.
They looked fake.
Yeah.
And they were at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Which apparently paparazzi, the TMZ people, they don't want to pay $170 to get into Disneyland. You know what I mean? I don't think. Well, maybe they
say
do.
that.
TMZ says, yeah, they don't want to pay they get the wristbands or whatever, but it's $700 a year. But I'm just saying, I felt like those were fake. And Heather needs to at least poke fun about herself every once in a while, even though I think Heather is really great. But it's stuff like this where you got to give people something every once in a while and let them know that you're not holier than thou about everything. This is a clear instance where I think Heather should just admit, yes, I might have done that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think Katie has her busted here.
Okay. I'm not impressed by the evidence thus far, but we can get into that when it comes up.
All right.
And
then
then
this is they're at the Boulevard, right? This is
yes. And then another thing comes up of where Katie, the reason I'm like sus is that whether or not these things did occur, which they probably did or whatever, it's just like she's just coming in hot, like wanting to have an enemy. It's like you don't have to do that.
Yes, I dislike that completely. Yes, when new people come in and they think that they have to go instantly against someone else. I really don't enjoy that.
Yeah. So she's like, they had first been in the same place at Sutton's Christmas party, and apparently Heather like didn't talk to her there, but then later Heather posted photos from that party and tagged Katie on like a random photo she wasn't even in, which the debate in this episode is, was that a mistake? Was it intentional? And Katie keeps bringing it up, and my question is, what would the intention be if it wasn't an accident?
I think I'll only say this now because this is a recurring theme through this episode. I think Katie is a little doesn't really understand how this show works.
Yeah.
And she thinks that Heather doing research on a new cast member means that Heather knows who she is, and you should act accordingly at a certain point in your life as like, you know who I am. But Heather is getting on the show and she's acting in this realm like, I've never met this cast member before. I don't know who they are. And Katie thinks that that's false.
Uh-huh.
That's a fake reality. You tagged me in a post. I found out from friends that you were looking up my Instagram. You know who I am. And then you snubbed me at that party or whatever it was. I think that she doesn't understand how we're supposed to see them meet for the first time, despite knowing that Heather knows that Katie is coming on as a new cast member.
Yeah. Like, she just wanted her to be more welcoming.
That she knew who she was. You're right. I mean, I don't defend this, but I just think that, I guess when you mix in that Heather won't deny or say that the paparazzi thing happened, it starts to make Heather look like she's bullshitting a little bit about her relationship with Katie. Like she got kind of busted in a lot of things that I
just think like, so if you put it into like work context, say like you work wherever and you heard like, hey, like they just hired out this new position. Her name is such and such. She's friends with such and such.
Right.
And you look at her Instagram and you're like, oh, she's like that. Like it looks like she lives in Silver Lake. Looks like she has like a mullet, like whatever. Yeah. And then you were at a party that she was at. Would you 100% of the time rush up to her and be like, I heard you're joining our team. I saw you on Instagram. I'm very curious about you. Welcome aboard. Or you'd be like, wait for it to happen naturally and be like, low-key, I like already know about you.
I absolutely would do the first. Wait, no, what's the one that I would do? The one where I didn't say that I saw them on Instagram.
Yeah, and you would, on the inside, you would be
time.
like, I am meeting you for the first time.
Do you think that Heather accidentally tagging Katie in a photo makes this a little hard, like in the same work analogy, if you had researched an employee before they got to your work and you tag them.
That's a disaster. That's like when you hand your friend a photo on Instagram and you're like, don't you fucking dare double tap that shit.
Right. Or you say, don't go back in my photo scroll. I'm just saying, I love the work analogy and you're 100% right. I think that there's just enough for Katie to latch onto to be like,
but it's like honestly, a little bit like, just like Heather is playing like, I don't think about you at all.
Yes. She is. She is doing that. Yeah, I think it's because Heather can't admit the paparazzi thing, that all of a sudden I call into question that she thinks she looks bad, so she's going to deny everything. And Katie had enough evidence against Heather that then when Heather is just blanketed saying absolutely none of this is true and you're going about this all wrong and now I'm not going to be your friend. I'm like, give her something here. Right. You know what I mean? Because then I just start to question Heather's posture in this instance. She knows that some of this happened. You accidentally tagged her in a post.
Yeah. I mean, her other smoking gun is that, it comes later, but that she also knows Cynthia Bailey, and that apparently Heather went up to Cynthia Bailey and was like, what's the deal with this new girl? Yeah. Which, like, again, right. I don't think that's weird.
Yeah, so she's
saying, going, what's the deal with this new chick that's joining our show? You know her.
So the things you hear when you're just, like, before you start in the off season should not come into play if you're a new cast member, no matter what you heard or learned, or if you were falsely tagged or whatever, that shit should not be your arc for that with that other cast member in the season.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
it's before it
it's
started.
almost like it's like fourth wall breaking, because it's like that's what it comes up at the golf thing later. But Shannon goes like, yeah, Heather asked a lot of questions before I joined this group.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, obviously you're gonna vet the person that's one of 6.
I wouldn't.
No questions.
I wouldn't. I would think that
Play
I was
it pure.
I would think I was breaking the fourth wall by looking at who a new cast member is and just meet them organically. I wouldn't do what Heather does.
These bitches are hungry for the spotlight. They want to know who they're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, but
It's a war.
It's a war. Heather's at war.
Yeah, they need to be careful.
I guess you're right. Maybe Katie brought into evidence stuff that we shouldn't know about. And if she had only done the paparazzi thing as her war against Heather, actually, I thought it was only going to be Heather snubbed me at a party. And I'd be like, that's the worst. Weak evidence against a cast member. You better not just go with that as your war against another cast member, saying they snubbed you once. But then there's a lot more, the paparazzi stuff and stuff, that I thought that, I don't know.
It's just weird to like build a case against someone to start.
I think you're right. And I agree with that 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. But we'll get into the evidence later. But
Sure.
So we're still at that dive bar. What was it called? Boulevard? It looked kind of fun.
I want to go to that bar so bad. But a little bit of this, OC has this, I think I've talked about this before, where they think chaotic drinking party Tres Amigas like drunk and fall on the floor and slip around is a part of the ethos of OC. Yeah. And for a long time, that has felt very forced.
Yeah.
And you and I were looking at each other during this, just being like, oh,
it was a little bleak.
Boy, it was like coyote ugly.
Yeah.
They were getting the bar soaking wet, pouring.
Specifically Tamara, Jen, and Emily. Yeah, they were doing like pouring the schnozzle. What do you call it?
Schnozzles is like they're pouring it. There's this guy who's like, I'm going to the boulevard after work to have a whiskey and because I'm not having a good day, and then all of a sudden he's got a schnozzle of beer poured all over him, and
they were spraying the entire bar. They were like putting the nozzle down their pants. They were like going insane.
Wet. And then even before that, when they go to pick up Katie, they're like pissing in her bush.
Yeah.
And Katie has her child. The child is like right next to her, and she doesn't know that Emily is falling in her bushes. I mean, I love drunken behavior, but I think at this point in OC, it's a trope.
I just wrote down rolling around, spraying.
They really were spraying, and it was mean that they didn't invite Shannon to this spray fest at the boulevard.
Rude. And then Gina's sober, so she's like, God, like this is fucking weird. And Gina, meanwhile, is for some reason very stressed out about Katie spreading this goss about Heather. She's like, I told you not to tell them. Like it almost feels like she's saying like, I told you not to make that your thing. Like. She's gonna come down on you, like you're making a mistake.
And then Gina,
like, you can tell it's about the show.
Yeah, it is. And then Gina wants to take the conflict of what Katie did about Heather and make it hers as well, and be like, if you don't get this out to Heather, like first of all, she's gonna annihilate you when she finds out. But if you don't tell her, I'm gonna tell her because I'm in this, because like I have an oath to Heather where I have to tell her these things. So she makes it more a part of her drama and makes it even worse. Gina does at this bar.
Yeah. Okay. So we leave them. We get a Shannon and Vicky moment. Vicky visits her. She reveals that she has a staph infection, and she goes into great detail about what's going on with that. It sounded fucking horrible.
Yes.
Gross. And she's like, I got checked in the hospital. I checked myself right out because I lived to be busy. I couldn't be in there all day.
She goes, don't let if you stay put, the grass starts to grow on you. Which it's like she's
giving annihilation.
Why? Because
you turn into a plant.
Oh, right, because the environment starts to take you over.
Yeah. Sounds nice to me.
Really?
I'll be like a topiary instead of a human.
Would you just want to sit and let nature take over you?
Like birds and like butterflies sitting on me.
That does.
I don't have to do anything.
Nice. I mean. Some might say that's what happens to us. Is that the Annihilation music?
Yeah.
How does
it revisit that?
Oh, me too. Vicky, I felt I'm one of the biggest Vicky fans.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Vicky fan. One of the
Am
biggest.
I a Vicky stan?
Yeah, no, I absolutely am. But I don't know. This energy felt a little. I don't know. I didn't get a good sense of Vicky from this.
No, they like
scene.
shoehorned it in because it's a storyline that Tamra has left the Tres Amigas, and
Yeah.
Vicky just out of nowhere goes, "What are we gonna do about our show?"
And then they immediately have a Zoom call with the founder of Tres Amigas Incorporated, and
Yeah, Vicky says they have an LLC and everything.
she did all the business work
Can
of
we
this
hire her?
to do her stuff.
I bet she's like so on top of it.
I mean, well, it sucks that she's only life insurance, but maybe we could dovetail. Is that what you say? You get life
Yeah.
insurance and then ask if she could do other
Yeah,
legal stuff for us.
yeah, business manager.
She's so good at that kind of stuff.
Totally.
And then the guy, they go, Ryan, I forget what this guy's name was on the Zoom. They're like, "Hey, is the Tres Amigas brand affected by Tamra leaving?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "There's a lot of fallout
He's
from
like
this.
spiritually, monetarily,
Everything.
almost in every way.
Everything
Major
is
fallout.
Yeah, everything is affected by Tamra leaving." And then they go, "Well, how are we going to do our?" Oh, I forgot. At one point, Vicky was like, There's not a lot of three pairs, or sorry, three
Yeah.
duo. No, what's another way to say that? Three groupings. Most of the most iconic duos or groups are duos. And she goes, Laurel and Hardy, Thelma and Louise,
Lucy
and Ethel, and it's true.
Yeah. She was mixing them up though.
Yeah, she was giving. Yeah, it was a little silly. And then
She was like Thelma and Ethel.
right. That was kind of fun.
And then Shannon, again, is kind of shoehorned because I feel like they're like, we have Vicky for 20 minutes before she runs out of here.
Right.
And she's like, I got a letter from John Jansen saying he's suing me and I owe him $75,000. And Vicky's like, that's such bullshit. You paid for all of his flight upgrades, his clothing. And in her confessional, she's like, he's a bad guy. It wasn't my place the way that, I didn't believe when people told me Brooks was a bad guy. Like, I think he's a bad guy. And she's like, that's so fucked up. And she does her classic gag effect where she's like, ugh.
Yep. It was a big dose of Vicky very quickly.
Yeah.
Kind of almost, hard to really
Hot,
take
like
in.
fire.
Yeah.
And then we get a quick check-in with Jen and Ryan, who are packing to go to Vegas. And she's concerned that she will be judged for going to Vegas because everyone's pinching her pennies on her behalf.
Yeah, and also she's doing her own eyelashes to Ryan. And I'm like, wow, you really let the criticism get to you. She's like, I'm going to do this on my own so no one can call into question that I'm paying money for my makeup.
Right.
But, and then, like you said, the Vegas trip. But it's like anybody can go to, like, Vegas.
Yeah.
I go.
Yeah.
I go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, they're literally watching her every dollar, which I would understand more if like she owed one of them money.
Yeah.
Where it's like, imagine you like loan someone like 10 grand or whatever, and they're like, I swear I'm gonna pay you back, and then you watch them like with like a money gun, like
spoiling all their friends by giving them money, or they unfortunately start one of those cash booths with your money.
You like the twister of money.
No, have you ever been in a situation like that? It seems like a movie trope, but I've never been in that situation.
That I've given someone money and they spent it, or in the money booth.
Where you have loaned someone money,
Well,
and
what all
watch how
the
they spend
people
it.
say, every like book I've read and every Oprah thing I've watched, where it's like, if you lend someone money, you have to personally know you're not getting it back. Like, don't give it unless you're okay not getting it back, because it will fuck up your life.
Yeah. So they're not at that point though, but Jen is really taking to heart that any dollar she spends on camera will be judged by Gina and Emily.
Yeah, but she reveals here that she already was in a suit because apparently for some reason she opened the yoga studio during COVID, which sounds like a terrible idea.
COVID yoga, it was called.
She got a good deal on the rent, a verbal agreement on a lower rent because it was COVID.
Yeah.
And then new owners took over. And I don't really understand this because I don't know why, like, they want backlogged cash. Like, I don't know why this wasn't more organized. She now has to pay back the increased rent amount from COVID to the new owner. So I'm like, you already aren't making money off this place, and now you're like back paying.
Oh my, it's
a nightmare. Like, close that fucking money. What do you call that? Money
pit. It's really bad. Jen, had not only the Gina foreclosure or whatever that is, rent that she owed, then this happened with her business as well. And then she only has Ryan to help her out of this situation.
It's stressful.
It's rough.
We get a quick dinner at Javier's with Katie and her husband. She's planning a golf event that she originally wanted to call Drinking and Driving.
That was a really funny moment.
She pretended that she
think
didn't flag that.
I think it was real.
She looked at Shannon Bedore, whose only storyline is getting a DUI, and it didn't click for her.
I think it was real.
I don't trust her.
I thought it was real. They show the flashback in the nail salon, and I don't know why. Like, to me, flashbacks are so jarring because I'm like, they immediately take me out of it because it's like, you guys had conversations off camera that we'll never know, and then we only see little bits of it. But anyway, yeah, she proposed this thing and called it Drinking and Driving, but I legitimately thought she wasn't thinking of Shannon's DUI. You think she had to have known, and that was
I think she thought it would be a splashy moment.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But then she was like, haha, just kidding, like sipping and chipping. Which I was like, is that a golf thing? I don't know. But
yeah, chipping on the tee.
On the tee.
Yeah.
And then we get a tandem scene of Katie and Gina versus Emily and Tamra. And Gina's talking about Travis moving out, that her remaining kids in the home want a new room, and Katie's helping her pick out like the golf outfit. And I think they touch on they start having the conversation about the Heather paparazzi photos where she's like, I don't know if you should have done that or whatever. And then Emily and Tamara bring up that Gina is jealous that they're friends.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that doesn't bode well for Gina because she doesn't have a lot going on. So if they start to turn on her, she could be alone.
Well, here's what I'll say, though. I mean, make friends with Tamara at your own peril.
Sure.
Tamara has treated Emily badly for the most part, right? Up
Yeah.
until this, I don't know. She's been okay to her, but I'm just saying, Tamara will turn on you on a dime. So I don't know if Emily would ever sacrifice her relationship with Gina for a budding friendship with Tamara. But
Right.
it is true that Gina is jealous of it.
Yeah. And then, we get into the paparazzi shit because Tamara says Heather loves to go to places in LA like Craig's and places where paparazzi will be. And she goes, I'm not like that. I just don't give a shit. And to Emily, she's like, that's why I love Big Bear. There's no paparazzi there. And I'm like, then go live in fucking Big Bear. Don't, like, all you do is say salacious shit every single day so that it gets picked up in headlines. Like, I'm sick of your bullshit.
Yeah, and but that what I'm saying about Heather and Terry is that I don't mind if Heather likes to get photos taken of her outside of Craig's or at Disneyland. Like I just it's not so bad.
They're total
to me.
media whores.
Who? Yeah, Terry and Heather. Yeah, but I'm like, you at least let us have that. Poke fun at yourself in that way.
It's giving Simon and Alex.
Yeah.
It's always nice to be photographed.
Of course. They, outside of Craig's, they show the photo, and Heather and Terry are doing the same pose. Heather's pointing out the distance and holding holding Terry.
He was making like a goofy face.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked at Terry's practice on Yelp because I was like, should I go get plastic surgery from Terry? And bad reviews.
Terry has bad reviews?
His practice does. I think it's one of those things where I feel like when you're that famous, like people flock, and then it's like a bad, like, I mean, I believe it was a lot of shit about like people having to wait and like whatever, and I was just like, I feel like Yelp and famous people is like a very bad combination.
Oh yeah, you're right. Every like you know, the Vanderpump restaurants, like they're graded very harshly, and sometimes they're graded based off the people that own them or affiliated with them. So it's
so
possible.
I couldn't quite like delve through. Like I'm sure from what I get from Botch, she's a very talented surgeon. But if you were just browsing Yelp and you got to that one, you'd be like, ooh, 3 stars.
I was thinking the exact same thing. If you didn't know who he was and you went on Yelp saying, I want plastic surgery today, I would be so let down worried.
Do you guys have an opening today?
Yeah. 3 stars. I would say, because in that instance, for that type of business, if it's really bad, it's so bad for you personally in terms of
Botched by botched.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not good. Yeah, I agree. And so I do think she's a little full of shit on being so high and mighty about that she would never do something like that. But in the next scene, not to jump ahead, but it's kind of the last thing, but she swears on her children's lives.
I know.
Do you really think she would do that?
So I love Heather as much as any cast member on OC right now, but I think she's using her integrity as a person that I trust to then say this could never happen, and she's kind of doubling down on something that I think is true, but because she lied about it last season, she'll just take this to the grave. And so she's doing the one thing that anytime someone swears on their children, usually they're lying. I mean, is there any instance in Bravo where someone swore on their children and it turned out that they actually were telling the truth? Usually that's the last desperate act of someone who's lying their ass off to bring their children into it.
Right. I just really would be so shocked for her to pull that
But
card.
you don't think that those Disneyland
No,
photos
they
would-
do, but it's like, I can't believe that she would go that low to do that. But I will say so far, so the evidence, because she goes, where's the proof? Which I'm always like, okay, if they're publicly asking for someone to pull receipts, that's pretty bold. And then Katie's receipt is her texting the Pap guy
Yes,
that she knows
Max.
saying, did she ask, or like, did she alert the Paps to go to Disneyland? And he
goes,
said, yes.
dot,
Y-E-S.
with a one of those purple devil emojis. I'm just kidding. He didn't do that. But
But I was like, no, the receipt is the text from Heather.
Heather saying, please, me and my husband are going to be at Disneyland. Will you
I'll
take
drop a pin at the
photo?"
Matterhorn.
I was thinking if Heather and Terry did want to be photographed, they could have done such a better job. They
Yeah.
could have been with Goofy or like on a ride.
Yeah.
You know what I
On
mean?
Dumbo.
Like they picked such a bland, boring one. I guess that's
It looks like
kind
the
of
smoking section. Like just like the little
Yeah.
weird corner.
I think my true deep thoughts, and this might be just like we outsource this question, my truth, really, even loving Heather, I think she's lying about this one.
Yeah.
And she's letting her character take a bullet on this one, saying like, you know me and you love me, so you have to trust me, audience, that I'm not lying about this one, even though
Yeah.
it's just very clear that I think she probably, unfortunately, called the paparazzi on her because Terry had a cheating rumor in the press or something, and she wanted to like
Yeah.
nip that in the bud.
Right. The biggest red flag for me is that she went, there are fake apps that can make those texts. And I was like, no.
Heather, don't say that. So this is all, we're kind of getting to the end, but this is all
Yeah.
at Katie's golf thing, but
Yeah.
we're skipping 10 minutes of live golf where they're
Yeah.
scoring it, telling us who won, and then there's such a conversation happening that everyone is bubbling up about how Katie talked about Heather, that's kind of the final moment, is this confrontation. And
Yeah.
that ends the episode. It's kind of like, do you believe Heather or not, in a way?
Yeah. On Watch What Happens Live, it seemed to be 50-50.
Yeah.
So I
think
need more receipts.
They'll never have Heather
But why?
texting, because I don't think you can text TMZ and say, do you mind joining me? That's like a phone call to Harry Levin. What's that guy's name? Harry Levin?
Harvey.
I think you have to call for that.
It was all vocal.
I don't think she would ever get busted with texting where they were, but I think she did it, unfortunately. But it doesn't ruin my impression of Heather.
I just think it's like, I agree that if she did do that, she could be like, yeah, who fucking cares?
Yeah, that's what Katie thought. I actually felt like Katie handled herself well. She goes, I thought I guess it's not entirely true that Katie thought this would just be a laugh-off thing. She's texting TMZ people to get the scoop on this. But I did think that she thought it was possible that Heather would just admit this and laugh it off.
Right. But I'm like, well, then fucking do your research because we already spent months on this.
Yeah. And then Katie says
And
something.
it was tired the first time.
It was. And I hated it when it was brought up before. But then Katie did say, which I kind of believe her, that she hasn't watched the season, so she didn't know this was an issue from the past.
Right.
I kind of
maybe
believe
that's why everyone was like, don't do it.
that's why I think so
Yeah.
too. I think it's like this. We don't talk about like fizzled out conflict from a previous season if it didn't carry over this
Right.
season in a real way.
Right.
So,
Yeah. But she was like, it's all I have. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
I don't know. I actually got a spark of liking Katie a little more. I do think so far she hasn't brought a lot.
It was kind of giving Anna Marie esophagus gate.
I think you're right, and I think I will probably rethink this loyalty to Katie. And actually, I love Heather. I just think that Katie didn't do the worst job of handling this.
It's going to be like the esophagus. We're going to be like 8 episodes in. She'll be like, I don't know, Disneyland. Like,
I'm just like, Katie, stop, please bringing up Disneyland.
she's like, did somebody call the paparazzi? That's something you would do.
Yes, I've seen much worse in shoehorn drama by first-time cast members. I felt like Katie up against Heather. Katie kind of got some shots in against Heather, and Heather did seem a little on her back foot when she started talking about fake apps, like you said.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I don't know. I think Heather is going like, I'll never be friends with someone like you or something, because she's kind of just dismissing this entirely, this Katie drama. But you're right. Maybe Katie should have just never brought it up at all. And
I also feel like she thinks she's more entitled to skip entry level because she knows other housewives. And I'm like, that means less than nothing to me. Like, I do not fucking care. That's not the point.
Yeah, the audience. The audience needs to get to know you in a different way than just what the hell ever you're trying to bring
I'm
to
like,
us.
we are always under the guise that someone that joins the show is here for a reason, whatever bullshit reason that may be. So the fact that you know more than one housewife from different cities, like, I absolutely don't care. If anything, I'm like, that's weird.
She's Gina's friend.
Right. Sutton recommended me as a realtor because she was moving to OC.
Right. Okay. Well, how do you feel? I mean, you want to just
Should we just race through New Jersey?
Yeah. Can I race to your
Race to the
restroom to do a certified turtle piss break?
Yes.
And then I swear we'll race through Jersey. Yeah. All right. Good. We're back.
Hello. It's time for New Jersey. Don't trial this at home.
Don't trial, because lawyers go on trial, and there's a lawyer in this episode, right?
Yeah.
Did
He
you like this
scares
episode?
me.
What did you say?
He scares me.
James Leonard?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
He's like such a skis bag.
You think so? I don't think he's fully skis. I think he's just in the tank for Teresa.
I don't trust him at all.
Really? Sort of a duplicitous lawyer?
Yes.
That's an archetype that I'm unfamiliar with. Like, you mean...
Do you think he has a twin? Now that...
I guess I don't know whether I can trust James Leonard.
Yeah.
But when I saw him, he didn't give me full red flag. This is the worst lawyer I've ever seen. Like Margaret tries to paint him to be.
Yeah.
I thought he's just so clearly loves getting his bread buttered by Teresa's family and spending all their money on legal fees. So he's very, very happy to do whatever they need.
Yeah.
So
I did love her snobby POV where she was like, Teresa's lawyer's office is near the meth clinic in Atlantic City. Mine's on Madison Ave.
Yeah, I like that too.
Slay.
Yeah, I like that too. So there's two scenes, huge scenes of this. I thought this episode was great.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
I mean, lots of husband time, which is always a highlight.
yeah, it's mainly about Margaret finding out that Teresa is planning this James Leonard bombshell meeting with
Right.
all of the other cast members.
She's disgusted.
Yeah, and then the rival guys' nights, and both are great.
Yeah.
I mean, half this episode is dedicated to those two huge events, and they're wild.
I like how, so it's like Fessler and Marge meet at a diner,
Yeah.
and she tells her about this impending event, and she's so horrified, and she was like, how dare anyone agree to go to this? And she's like, you know what, you're right, I'm gonna tell Teresa I'm not going. And I'm like, what?
Well, so because once Margaret learns of this, and I do think she's learning about this
Yeah.
in real time, she's stunned that anyone who would say that you're friends with Margaret would ever go to a meeting where someone legally is going to try to put cast blame on another cast member. Like,
Yeah.
say, like, you know, I just think it's so clearly an anti-Margaret
Right.
meeting that even within the concept of the show where you have to go to every event, if you're a friend of Margaret, you would never just go to an event like that.
Right.
You know what
I
I mean?
assume
It's
it was like, I get it, but I also feel like it was framed as like sort of, I mean, we'll get to it, but really thought it was going to be a reality Von Tease reveal. So I feel like all the women were like, I got to hear this.
so you thought that they really expected a bigger bombshell when they
Yeah,
went
well,
there.
that's what Danielle said. She was like, I'm expecting the biggest news you've ever heard in life.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
like, they were all like, what the fuck is it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
out of just like pure curiosity.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I don't know. I guess I really identify with Margaret.
Sure.
Like-
I mean, I get it from her point of view, but it's also like the loyalties on this show are so out of whack that it like doesn't even make sense anymore.
It made sense. I guess, yeah, that's right. It made sense within the reality within the show of me as just watching it. But yeah, when you think about the reality TV aspect of this, like, yeah, it obviously makes sense that most people went to this event that Teresa
Right.
is hosting for a bombshell.
Right.
But I really identified with Margaret's rage
Yeah.
towards this, and I loved that she decided to just call all of the people that she thought were her friends and just call them out on the fact that they would go to this anti-Margaret
Yeah.
hate-filled meeting at Teresa's
Yeah.
house to slander her
Yeah.
with a lawyer present, which
Right.
brings it into the legal arena, which is
Right.
that's the problem with Jersey storylines, is that it gets really, really messy
Dirty.
with
Yeah.
legal shit.
Yeah, which we'll get into it. I don't really understand how she's legally implicated at all. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
what are you even talking about? So the only one thing I wrote down is like it's revealed that there's gonna be rival guys nights. Dolores is talking about planning that trip in the Berkshires that she called a Goombaya,
yes.
which I thought was kind of iconic.
Goombaya. Yeah, I like that too. Jen Fessler loved it as well. Oh, yeah. So, in addition to those two major events, Dolores is planning for the finale to go to the Berkshires because she got this perfect house.
Yeah, has 7 bedrooms and a back house where I forget who she was gonna put back there.
Teresa and Jen.
Yeah, because they like need to be
Yes.
quarantined from
Yep.
everyone else. So TBD on that, which we talked about already before, why it didn't happen. And that's why I was like, when it kept moving forward, I was like, wait, I thought that wasn't happening. And
know.
now we
Yeah.
know. But so yeah, the boys' nights are juxtaposed in the bulk of this episode. It's Joe having a meat-centric party.
Yes, it's called like a porterhouse party.
It looked expensive.
Oh my God, it looked so expensive. And he called all of the boys, and he finds out that they're going to Louie's party on the same night. And there's this juxtaposition of the two types of parties they have. I want to ask you, why did Bill renounce these boys, these loved for
Yeah.
5 years?
Loyal to his wife.
He's so loyal to Jen that he says, I can't go to parties with my friends that are boys, and I have to go hang out with Louie when he has
Can
an
I
opposing.
ask you which party looked more fun to you?
Which one looked more fun?
Imagine if you went to that other party out of loyalty to your wife and you walk in and the shit that he had to do there compared to the
No,
other one.
That's what I'm saying. There's almost no way in the
It was a
world.
horror show.
Let's get into it. But I want to ask you before. I just don't even understand. Paulie and Bill love
They fucked up.
Louie enough to say, I won't go to Joe's house. I'll go to Louie's party, which was one of the worst parties you could ever be invited to. If I got invited to that party, I would never stop talking about it for the rest of my life. I'd say I went to the weirdest thing I've ever done ever. Two men, a man and a
He's
son.
like, my 90-year-old dad is here.
my dad is here, but the man and the son of the house are wearing matching t-shirts that say transcendence with a human being beamed up into earth on it. Hey, do you mind taking a look at my podcast studio garage? We're going to record devotionals to our wives in silence out there. It's like, I'm like...
And they're too scared to say anything. They don't even make fun of him.
That's why, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Now it's stretching reality. Talk about stretching reality. In no world would Paulie and Bill choose to go against Joe and Frank and Joe Bonino, amazing friends, to go to this weird, creepy, quiet party at Louie's house. Why are they doing it? It's because of the loyalties of Jen and Dolores to Teresa?
It sucks so bad. And then Teresa is like seeing off the guys. She like brings pasta up to like her daughter's room or whatever, and she's talking to her father-in-law, and she's like, Dad, you don't understand, there's this woman that has been betraying us all along. And the Italian grandpa is like, you know what they say, the dirt always rises to the top. And I was like, is that what they say?
Grandpa,
you mean cream?
Did you get cream? The cream rises to the top, and
the
dirt
goes to the top. Are we talking a dirt cup, like those little Oreo pudding cups?
That makes more sense
good.
now. He was thinking about the worms and dirt Oreo. What was that? Cream and Oreo that we had, where you dig worms out.
Dirt cup.
Yeah. He might have been thinking about that. But there's such funny stuff. Almost like if our Little Turtle Cuties or Villa Rosa VIPs are not watching Jersey, just put this scene on from start to finish, because it is one of the weirdest and wildest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
First of all, Louie starts out by telling his dad what they're going to be doing here tonight. And I forget what he says, but he's like, Dad, we're going to be, we all work really hard and we've all have jobs. So sometimes we like to gather together to blow off steam a little bit and eat food and relax. And his dad's going, yes, okay. It's like, are you describing a party to your dad?
Yeah. And then meanwhile, every time they cut to the other group, it's like, everyone's like, Fuda. And he's like, I wore pajamas to make you feel more comfortable. And they're all like, oh my God.
Yeah, they're laughing. They're having fun. They're doing shots. It looks so cool. It's amazing.
I felt like, is it John Fessler or Jen Fessler's husband should have been at the boring party. He didn't have shit to say.
I know. They kept saying, Fessler. They're like, Fessler's a wild man. He's going to get at this party and have the time of his life. And Fessler didn't say one fucking word.
No, they were like, he knows, like, he came to the right team or whatever. And he was like, no team with me. I was like, get out.
Fessler should have swapped for Bill. Let Fessler record a devotional to his wife.
He gets like blackout. Remember Bill when he was so blackout they had to carry him home?
Oh, I love that. Swap Bill with Mr. Fessler. Fessler goes to Louie's house and does that devotional.
Fessler's a mess.
So I guess it's hard to talk because they're juxtaposing. So maybe we can just talk about Louie's and then.
Can I? Yeah. I just want to say while we're talking about who's invited to what, Frank was invited to Louie's and he chose Joe's. But then when they start talking shit, because Joe's like,
yes,
he's a dirtbag. Would you go to a dirtbag's house? Because he's a dirtbag. And Frank is like, oh, like, is this new wallpaper? Like, and I'm like, wait, like, you thought that he sent fucking, what's his name? Bo Deedle after your ass. Why won't you talk shit?
Frank goes in the reunion goes, did you or did you not sick upon me, Bo Deedle, to do a smear campaign against me and Joe?
So how did he get over that? Why won't you talk shit?
I have no clue. What is Louie doing over there? Like, it makes no sense.
His eyes are like green, and he's like,
"What is the draw of Louie?" And then Joe says, "I love Joe Gorga. Like, really, like almost like 9 out of 10. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite cast members." He goes, "I gave this piece of shit a chance. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. They roll the tape, and it's true. He liked Louie. They showed him. He was embracing Louie. He goes, this guy, it took him 2 months to fuck me over.
Yeah.
I forgave him after that. He fucked me over again.
Yeah.
This guy came into a family and then fucking destroyed it. 49 years old with a restraining order against his ex. It's like, just those things are enough for Joe Gorga to make the case against Louie. Why would anyone want to be his friend or be on that side?
Yeah. He's a mess.
Yeah.
So yeah, they go into the weird like podcast studio, which like I would like to record there. It looked nice.
Oh.
Coming live from.
Do you mind if we edit some of this episode?
It would be like going into like the celebrity center where like you don't want to talk to him for too long.
I think we could get it so where we talk to Louie for about 5 minutes and then just get in that podcast studio ASAP. Just there's other weird moments. It's hard to do justice to the scene because it's so good. Louie is also like, before they get into the podcast studio, he's talking about the guacamole and he's like, we got really good guacamole here, handmade with a bunch
meat.
of great meat. It's like he's doing everything for the first time. Like everything to him is like,
little does he know the meat extravaganza that's happening at the other party.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you're right. They walk into the podcast studio. These guys, Bill and Polly, have no idea what they're walking into out there. His son is with them. They're both wearing those matching shirts. And he says, boys, I thought a really fun idea off the cuff, off the top of my head, was to use this equipment to record devotionals to our wives because they're going on a trip. So this would be amazing for them to have on their trip. So let's start recording those now.
It's giving the beachside messages.
It was giving, let me try to explain what those were by showing you a different version of them, one that has explanation. He's like telling us that that's what that scene on the beach was.
Right.
It was this, a devotional to my wife. So why don't I make you all do that as well? Because this is just standard business at a house that I have.
I love, like, I mean, okay, so he does his first where he's like, he says he's like grateful for Teresa, like grateful for their love and like everything she does and that he loves her, whatever.
But his son also, he goes, Dad, what angle do you want, Dad?
Oh yeah.
And he goes,
I'm just
left
gonna stand.
He goes, I'm just gonna stand, son. And then he does that, the full, most like heartfelt thing, kind of a new version of the beach scene to Teresa. He goes, Teresa, this is your husband Louie talking.
Right. And the men are all very uncomfortable. Then he makes Bill do it, who does fuck around. He does like a funny, goofy voice.
Bill does a really good, funny
He's
impression
like,
of being an overly loving husband. Almost, making fun of the entire thing that's going on here.
Yeah, which I appreciated. I was like, thank God. I thought Louie was like gonna get mad and be like, no, be serious.
I think it was a top 10 Bill moment. I was laughing so hard. He goes, my Jenny, baby, I love you. And he goes, before we had kids, we used to give each other so many hugs and kisses. And Polly's laughing in the back because they're reminiscing, like you said. They close their eyes and they imagine the Joe Gorga party that's happening, the porterhouse party, and they can't believe what they're doing.
It's like poker and meat and like bone marrow shots.
Yeah, and did you also see like Louie also like gives Polly a gift at some point from the Skinny Italian collection? He gives Polly a gift or something.
It was giving empty box. It was
really?
giving prototype, the Sonia Morgan prototype. Prototype box.
That's exactly what it looked like. The toaster oven in there.
Yes.
Is he bribing his friends?
Yeah. What did he say? He was like, "There's no money back guarantee."
Yeah, I'm like.
And I was like, "That's the pizza oven that tore the family apart."
Yes.
Yeah.
What's happening here? Just to go. Let's go high level. Louie is trying to project a perfect man on camera while also touting his business, which we don't know anything about, the Transcendence Men of Legacy business. So he's doing that. And also, I wouldn't put it past him to be selling those devotionals for his Men of Legacy, like selling the Bill and Polly devotionals, like as part of his Men of Legacy thing. Like, I'm just like, I've never seen a human behave like this.
It's fucking nuts.
Ryan looks like a on edge wild man that's showing his full persona, even though I think Ryan is exactly like Louie in every way in terms of not showing his full personality.
Yeah.
This is another level what Louie is doing. I've never seen anything like it.
It's wild. And then Polly's like incapable of even joking about this or just saying he doesn't want to do it. So he makes his really short, and he's just like, Dolores,
thanks for always having my back.
and he goes,
Lots of
"And
love.
I can't wait to see you when you get home."
Yeah, it's like it's. They didn't think this was. They thought this was weird too.
It's giving me trying to write a card.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, love Amy.
Yeah,
The end.
Yeah, I was stunned by this. I mean, this was like this is like where you can't write something like this.
Yeah.
Louie's dinner, Louie's guys' night. It was wild.
Iconic.
Yes, it really was iconic.
Yeah. Yeah. So then juxtaposed on the other end, they're doing bone marrow shots.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I don't know what you call it, like a luge with a bone marrow. They're pouring booze through it. And John Fuda immediately starts having some sort of allergic reaction where his eyes are super inflamed. He's like having trouble breathing. Like he's like kind of like coughing, and he's like, oh, like, I don't know what's going on. Like I'm having an allergic reaction. And he like gets up to go to the bathroom. My first thought was how, I don't know if this is a real statistic, but they say that like a large number of men die like choking at restaurants because they just go to the bathroom to like deal with it in silence. And then they like don't get help, and then they die. And I was like, he would just get up from the table and like leave and like not get help.
They just die. A lot of men do that.
I've heard that.
Wow.
Like they're like, excuse me, and then they die.
Excuse me.
Pardon me.
Wow, I would be begging if I was
Yeah.
choking on steak at Chili's or whatever. I would beg for them to Heimlich me in front of the entire restaurant. Yeah. Wait. Before we get into it, sorry. How do we know yet? I didn't look this up, and I was going to. Did John get a bunch of like pepper from the bone marrow
They
seasoning?
don't know.
in
I
his-
watched a Rachel Fuda TikTok, and she covered the aftermath. And like she said that when he got home, he was like even worse, but it was fine ultimately. And then he went in. She had to like force him to go get like an allergist appointment, and they tested him. They didn't find anything that he was allergic to.
I think it's quite possible that he just did 8 seconds of cold tequila into his nose and throat, plus pepper and a garlic or whatever was on the steak, and it just went into his
But
sinuses.
it's weird for your throat to close.
Yeah, I mean,
The
I
one
get-
thing, I mean, the EMTs seemed fairly useless or not concerned, but they did say his oxygen was low.
Yeah, but well, I just thought if it wasn't allergy, it had to do with the fact that he did a very non-traditional shot. Can we at least call it that?
Sure.
Non-traditional bone marrow shot, and I thought that the tequila might have shot through his nose and his eye. You know what I mean? You know when you cough,
Yeah.
and when a food goes down the wrong
Right.
chute, I just
Yeah.
think he had a really bad reaction to taking like one of the worst shots of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Bonino really.
I
you know,
respected his forcefulness because otherwise Joe Gorga was just rubbing ice all over his head, which in retrospect it seemed like would have been fine. Like the paramedics didn't even give him an EpiPen.
No.
Like I thought that was the whole point of them coming, and they didn't even do it. They were like, call us back if you want. But yeah, like I feel like he could have done the Benadryl and whatever. But he was like, they had to like actively hold him down. He was like, let me go. I don't want help.
Yeah, he goes, this is not how Italian men behave. We don't go to the hospitals. We put Vicks Vapor Rub all over our bodies.
It's giving My Big Fat Greek Wedding Windex.
Can you remind me of that? Because I've only seen all 3 once.
Her dad, I think,
It says put
he's
Windex.
obsessed with like, you have a wart, put Windex, on it. You have whatever, Windex.
It was a combination of him, I think, being slightly scared of hospital stuff.
Yeah.
But then also,
And also
saying
like
it's
not wanting to make a scene.
yeah, not
Like that
one-
is embarrassing
It
to like
totally
have
is.
an ambulance called on your behalf when you're like, no, like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to
I felt
like
bad.
make a big deal.
And he wanted to just have fun. But
Totally.
he looked bad enough to where, you got to let the ambulance come in.
Yeah.
He looks really bad.
Although I was like, none of these 40-plus-year-old people, including Joe and Melissa, know what anaphylactic shock is. I'm like, you have children. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Like, all we do all day is talk about like peanut allergies, and like I'm sure there's school, like I feel like everyone with young children, the schools have like allergy protocols and stuff. I'm like, you don't know what anaphylactic shock is at
Yeah.
all? You've never heard of it?
Yeah, you're right. So Joe was so concerned because it's like if you did just ingest like a huge allergen to your body, your throat might close.
It's like Bethany
up.
with the fish.
Oh.
She said she almost died.
When?
Like probably within the last 5 years, she ate something that like unknowingly had like
Oh my
fish
God.
broth or something, and her ex Paul had to like, if he wasn't there, she said she would have died.
Oh my God, that is horrible.
Yeah, which is why I'm always so shocked that she's eating. I know she can eat some seafood and not others, but I'm like, it seems dangerous to me.
When she was eating that crab bucket, it's like there's no fish,
Right.
sort of in that.
Right. Remember, because in was it Cartagena where there was like a stew that had like fish broth or whatever, and she started freaking out,
I don't remember.
and she
that.
like laid on the floor and was like crying.
Oh, I don't remember that. Wow, no.
Everything went wrong on that trip.
Yeah, that was rough. Okay, so then they don't do anything, but then Joe Gorgas.
Joe has his dick out.
Yeah, he goes to take a piss next to John Fuda because he has to pee really bad. And then when the EMTs, they just say, drink your Benadryl, sit down, keep trying to breathe. And then Joe Gorga says, let's give these men, these cops, these hungry cops, steaks.
I know.
And they
Their
all have
faces
a
are
big-
blurred. And I'm like, don't you have somewhere to be? Are you supposed to do that?
I was also like, you didn't sign a release, but you
Yeah.
ate steak
It
on a
looked
show for
good and
like 30
expensive.
minutes. Like, why wouldn't you got to sign a release at that point?
No, because they were like, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I
Oh.
want to.
You're right. I didn't think about that.
I
They'd
want
be
the body
busted.
cam footage.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And they're like, do his lips always look like this?
And I was thinking they kind of do, right? They
And they were like, I guess they look a little bigger than
Right.
usual. Okay, so fast forward. They end up seemingly still having a good time. Like Frank makes a joke where
Yes.
he's like, I'm getting a call from Louie. I just let him know Fuda almost died. We're having
Yeah.
a great time over here. Like, it
yeah,
was
like
funny.
does your party compare?
Frank's
to
funny.
This? Frank's so funny.
He's great.
Those boys, we got to get them all back together. I feel like Paulie would love to be with those boys. He hasn't got a
Totally.
lot of chances.
Yeah, he fucked up
Paulie by
going to that other party. Horrible.
Yeah.
He didn't even really talk shit to Dolores. He was like, yeah, we did devotionals. And she's like, that's nice. He wasn't like, it was fucking weird.
No, he wouldn't be honest.
No.
They don't want to be honest about how they feel about Louis for some reason. What?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's weird. It's
Yeah.
creepy. So then we go to everyone arriving at Teresa's. She has a spread out for everyone to come. Her lawyer comes, and everyone sits around the table. Dolores is expressing that she's concerned about Teresa. She says it to Gia, and Gia's like almost like creepily like energized by this event.
I know.
I don't like it.
Me neither. She thinks that her mom is finally going to get her due or something. And then Teresa is on edge.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole time. She's like running around, like very like
Yeah.
excitable and
Yeah.
scared and worried. I mean, it really comes into play. I mean, when the flowers get delivered. But I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get to that. But
So yeah, they start to do the rundown. They say they won't say Louie's ex's name. They won't even call her that. They just say like basically like the plaintiff or like
Yes.
the one he's involved in the suit with.
but then Dolores just keeps clarifying to everyone
Yeah.
over and over. She's like, his ex.
Yeah. And their first bombshell is that in 2021 they learned that Marge was subpoenaed to be asked if she was in contact with this woman. And I guess she denied the subpoena.
She did. Yeah, she didn't go to court, but she said, yes, I have been in contact
Right.
with this person.
Right.
and then
so Dolores is like, okay, like we've been talking about this that whole time.
right. And Teresa she sets herself up for even more failure because she called this meeting. There's a lot of fanfare, a lot of like, this is going to be the biggest bombshell in Housewives history or whatever. And then she goes, this next thing that lawyer James says is going to blow your fucking head off. And then he goes, so we found out that because Louie and his ex can't speak to each other, Marge has been talking to his ex and getting information from her.
And saying it out loud.
It's like they do a flop noise
do
on
crickets.
it. They do crickets. Aiden tries to say that it's something. She goes, she's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Because when we did something,
Like, she's
there
been
was
denying
something
it
like
this
that.
whole time.
And then Dolores goes, this isn't exactly news to me.
They show a montage of Teresa accusing her of this for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I really think it reeked of her seeing the Salt Lake finale.
Yes.
And thinking that this was that.
Well, does that timing work out?
Good question.
It doesn't, I don't think.
It was earlier.
Because Salt Lake happened earlier this year, February, and this had already been filmed by Christmas of last year, fall, I think.
Okay.
Unless she heard
Right.
what that finale was going to be like. But
Well, it felt like whether or not she had heard about Reality Von Teese, she thought this was that level of scandal. Like, there's a mole.
yeah, totally. Jackie couldn't, even give any, like pretend this was shocking to her. If Dolores
There was
can't,
no reaction.
no, Jen tried, and then Teresa's like, okay, once you recover from, or I hope you all can recover from that. And then they hear this ringing, loud ringing in the house, which I don't know if the editors like turned it up, but it was a constant ringing. And then Gia looks at the security cam footage and she goes, alert, alert. There's someone here. And then
He's
Teresa,
scary.
he looks scary. He's got a beard, Mom. And then Teresa runs.
Who is that?
She's so scared.
And
Teresa's-
they're like, the funeral, the flowers look like they're for a funeral. Did someone die?
and then this guy, she thinks someone died.
How did that guy get in the gate?
It's production let him in. They said this is too perfect.
They have access to that.
I don't know. And then the guy goes, hello. He goes, I'm sorry, I have flowers to give to you. And Teresa goes, who are they from? She looks at the note and says, Dear Teresa and James,
So
sorry for the loss of your dignity. Love, 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 Marge. And Teresa goes, oh, God, they're from Margaret. She's so disgusting. Take them back. Tell them to
shove her up her ass.
Shove them up her
The
ass.
guy was like, okay.
And he goes, I will. Okay. What do you want me to tell her? And then she runs in, and then she can barely tell the story to them because she's so frantic and running around.
She's
and
like, I
excitable.
have Marge just where I want her. She's spiraling.
And then she goes, Marge sent me some flowers. And everybody's like, Marge sent the flowers? Like, they think they know how epic this is that
Yeah.
Marge delivered funeral flowers to Teresa's dud.
Great.
It's amazing. And then Teresa goes, I got her right where I want her. She's squirming. And Danielle goes, that was one of the most gangster things I've ever seen in my life, but I'm trying to contain myself and not talk about how amazing that was. Which it is. I mean, Margaret this season.
If that happened on like a scripted show, I'd be like, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. I mean, Margaret is really pulling out all the stops this season. I have never been more
clever.
proud. I feel like I know I always love Marge and I always talk about it, but this season is my renewed love of her as a cast member. She's iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, she's killing it.
No, it was very funny. And I was like, it's not giving squirming at all. It's giving like very like grounded and comfortable and like being like, what you're doing is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Totally. That's completely. So that was great. I mean, that was a great episode. Did you see this? Maybe to end this conversation, I think this is okay. Andy Cohen walked back.
Oh, right.
The reboot rumors that he started.
Right.
So on
He was
Sirius
like, I was
XM,
riffing.
yeah, he goes on Sirius XM. I used the word reboot about New Jersey, but I was just talking to that person saying, you haven't heard the news that Jersey is in for a change. And I used the word reboot, but he walked it back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't imagine that they would scrap this cast. I mean, this was a good episode.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. And the last thing they talk about is that the house that Dolores found burned down,
right?
Which we already knew or had heard. But so they're not going. So next week it's just that weird round table
With all of them.
So I'm curious what that is going to look like.
I'm really excited. I think, I imagine that Teresa brings out evidence again that just fully flops. And then there's like a huge fight,
She
surrounding
claimed
it.
in some interview I saw online that because someone commented like, where were the receipts? Like, this is all hearsay that Marge was involved or whatever. And Teresa responded, I think it was maybe just a comment, was like, there were receipts and they didn't show them or whatever. But I'm also like,
Yeah.
even if it's true, I don't give a fuck.
It's a dud regardless.
Yeah.
With receipts, it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
we know the reality of this situation. We knew that this was a possibility, and it doesn't make us rethink anything about Marge at all.
No, because the first thing we saw was that the Bo Dietl shit and that Louie was calling people's like workplace and shit. So I'm like, it doesn't surprise, shock, or even sound wrong to me that she's like, what's the deal with this fucking guy?
But even Teresa's floundering and Louie's floundering this episode was really entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how great Marge was this episode. Teresa was the exact opposite, the biggest flop energy I've ever seen, which was great to watch as well.
Watching, they're not, I've said this before, not a good IQ match.
No, not at all. I mean, she runs circles around Teresa a little bit.
Great.
But anyway, well, good. Well, we went a little longer than we always thought, but I hope that there was some merit to this episode. Did we
I think we covered a lot of ground.
Okay, good. All right, well, good. Let's say goodnight to our little turtle cuties and our Villa Rosa VIPs. I'll just say, please, if you like this episode, go join us on Patreon. There's a lot more where that came from.
Oh, hell yeah.
$5 a month. I think you'd like it. And if you like this episode, why not give us a little review, positive or negative?
Yeah, comment on our YouTube, our Instagram, our TikTok. We have fun shit on there.
Yes. All right. Good night. Goodbye. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.